It's all about family. It's all about the business.
This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network. Welcome to the latest episode of Who's Next. I am Andy Atherton, one of your co-hosts, back with you. We're here to discuss the last, almost 2 months of NXT. We had to take a little extended hiatus or extended break, extended pause, however you want to call it. You know, life gets in the way, stuff happens, but we are completists, and we feel like we're not going to do our due diligence unless we pick up right where we left off. And who's we? Well, you know who we is in the me and the person I do this show with. He is the Mississippi Mud Pie, Logan Crosland. Logan, so great to be back talking NXT with you.
Yeah, I thought you bailed on me there for a while, but we are back, and we are going to be better than ever, I think.
Yes. It was touch and go for a moment, but I pulled through. Got through that Memorial Day, and then Father's Day, and then 4th of July, and now here we are in the heat, the hot of the summer here. And a lot's happened. I mean, obviously because it's been a bit, but there's a lot going on in NXT.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna kind of change it up just for tonight a little bit. We're gonna go a little bit quicker through things because we do have a lot more to cover than usual. So we're not going to go really deep down into the matches, play by play kind of thing. We'll talk about the matches and give us any highlights, any thoughts on the storylines and all the developments that have been happening there. Because we have some new faces, we have some appearances coming, new faces that we've never seen before, right? And also we have new faces coming to NXT, which is kind of cool. And we have some people on their way out, whether not by their choice. But we'll get to that towards the back end of what we're talking about tonight. But we're going all the way back to May 23rd, and that show opened up. We were still in the midst of the NXT Women's Championship tournament, and the match that opened the show was Lyra Valkyria, who defeated Cora Jade that night, and it was the Irish superstar countered in the last second and hit a crushing roundhouse kick to stun her opponent and send her to NXT Battleground. Now, I know we both like Lyra, right? Mm-hmm. But her kicks, right? Her roundhouse kick leaves something to be desired. What do you think her batting average is on hitting that pretty clean or flush?
Ooh, very, very low. I think she hits it every time, but it is very weak, and she hits it with the wrong part of her leg. I feel like she hits their face with her thigh a lot, and
not really the knee, the thigh, the mid leg. Yeah.
I feel like you're supposed to kind of, if you do something like that, you need to really hit them with the closer to your foot or your shin or your calf, whatever. But I feel like she hits it more in the knee area and maybe even a little more above that with the thigh. But yeah, anybody that would consider this crushing, I might have to have a talk with whoever wrote that down. But
I'm not going to reveal my source, but yeah, they kind of are in the position to make this sound better than it was, so to speak.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, the match was fine. It was real short, considering it was the semifinal. But they have a lot to. They try to fill these episodes with as much as possible. But it was a pretty good match for 4 or 5 minutes. But Lyra wasn't a shocking winner because I think we kind of knew who was coming from the other side. Yeah.
I mean, did you think Cora had a chance to get to the finals in this, or you think this was the right call? I mean, I know, heel is not really usually done for things like this. Whenever they're tournaments, they kind of gets a little predictable at times. They're more apt to go babyface, I think. But were you surprised Cora lost in the semis?
I could have seen a path where it could have happened because Roxanne was on the other side in the semifinals so you could have rekindled that and kind of redone that, but I think we both thought that Tiffany was a pretty big favorite going into this because I think she probably should have won it a couple times before this, but Yeah, I could have seen a path where them two rekindled that rivalry, but I think they definitely went the right direction.
All right, we move on to Dabba-Kato defeating Axiom. This baffles me, and we're going to be talking about that for the next couple episodes. But the description has Axiom priding himself on being a superhero, but he seemed to found his kryptonite on the massive Dabba-Kato, who absolutely destroyed him in singles competition. Dabba-Kato barely broke a sweat as he absorbed all of Axiom's shots before hitting a devastating sit-out powerbomb to pick up the win. Now, Axiom had a little bit of momentum going, and I kind of question this because why? I mean, they do follow it up for a couple of weeks, this thing, but I did not like this at all. What are your thoughts on putting Dabba-Kato in there and basically squashing Axiom?
Yeah, I kind of feel like you said, like Axiom had building some momentum. And I feel like Dabba-Kato before this hadn't been super duper featured once after he had the match with Apollo. And I think it's even stupider where it goes forward. We'll talk about that as we get into other episodes. Not because of who's involved, not at all because of that, but just because of how they go. And if you want to make Dabba-Kato this killer that can just squash guys that obviously are maybe mid-tier of a superstar, kind of like I feel like Axiom is. He's always in that North America title picture. But if you're going to have him squash a guy like this, you would think you would present him strong like that going forward. But we'll get along to more of Dabba-Kato's matches in the next couple of weeks.
All right. Then we move on to Tyler Bate versus Eddie Thorpe. The big strong boy topped Eddie Thorpe and ended the Alpha Wolf's undefeated streak to begin his NXT career. But the Tyler Driver 99 proved to be too much and gave Tyler Bate some momentum heading into NXT Battleground, where he will be in the three-way for the North American title. I like this Eddie Thorpe kid. I think it's very early for him. He's got room for improvement, but I see a lot of potential in there. Tyler Bate's one of those guys, like, I'm trying to figure out what the end game is for him, at least on the NXT brand. And he's pretty present on this group of episodes we're going to talk about. But I'm enjoying him being down there, and I like him being that veteran presence. What do you think of this match?
Yeah, he's definitely a good guy to have down there. He hardly ever I would say he has a pretty good batting average. He hardly ever has a bad match. He may not have the greatest match every episode or whatever, but he usually puts out a pretty solid effort. That's no different here. I think him and Eddie had a pretty good match. Eddie, I think, is going to be a big star going forward on the NXT brand. Once a couple of other guys kind of move out, I think they'll kind of push him a little higher on the card. As they seem to be featuring him a good bit. But yeah, Bates is a good guy to have, just to have that veteran presence, kind of like you said, even though he's only like 26 still. But yeah, I do think he's kind of spinning his wheels. I don't really know what the end game with him is, because he kind of started out at the top. He was in the title match with Braun, so he's been up there. He's been in the North American. Maybe when Wes loses the North American title, him and Wes can win the tag titles or something like that, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So then we move on to Nathan Frazier versus Noam Dar. And what can be considered a stunner, Nathan Frazier down Noam Dar just days before Dar defends the NXT Heritage Cup at Battleground against Dragon Lee. And Frazier wins with a diving splash to the outside and subsequently hitting the Phoenix Splash to defeat the Heritage Cup champ. Nathan Frazier is a guy who's starting to come into his own, I think. He's getting a little more personality. Yeah, you have these guys and they're great, in the ring. It's kind of like how Neville was in the beginning. Neville didn't have much of a personality, but, he was tremendous in the ropes. He's actually a guy I wish that he would come back to WWE one day. But once he started having that he was great as a babyface, but once he got that heel turn, right? Because I thought that's where they could be going with Frazier. I don't think that's where they're going at the moment, at least. Mm-hmm. And Noam Dar is a guy, like, you love to hate him. He just has like a punchable face, and he's got that annoying voice. So I think he's great as a heel, and his in-ring isn't bad. So what do you think of this match?
Yeah, he's very solid in ring. He's not going to blow you away, I don't think, but he has a ton of different styles that he can use. He uses strikes, does a lot of submission stuff. But I thought this match was really good, considering I didn't think they would get a ton of time, but they actually gave him a pretty good amount of time for this one. So, but like you said, I'm kind of surprised they had Dar lose right before the pay-per-view, but I think at the pay-per-view it kind of makes sense. He's kind of down on his luck heading into the big match with Dragon Lee, but things will get revealed as that match happens.
Yes. I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, big win for Nathan. I think, like you said, I think he's starting to get a little bit of that personality with the little talk show that he has, and just being a little bit more featured here. So, yeah, really solid match for sure.
Well, there's definitely room for another talk show right now with the Grayson Waller effect going up to SmackDown. So there's definitely an opportunity here for somebody to step up and show some personality. So then we get, coming off of Briggs and Jensen fighting each other as friends, we get Hank and Tank with Hank Walker defeating Tank Ledger in what amounts to a friendly match to build on their friendship, which will carry over actually to another tag team as well in an upcoming episode, one of our favorite tag teams, not. I don't know. I like I said, I kind of like these guys. Like Hank was like kind of like, to me, like I was like wondering like what the deal is with this guy, but putting him with Tank, we like I said, we got our Heavy Machinery 2.0 kind of thing going here with a couple of brawling guys, lovable. I mean, is there room on the NXT roster for two teams? Kind of, not saying that Briggs and Jensen are like that, but they're kind of they're kind of like cousins, I guess, of each other. These teams, right? You know what I mean? Like they're on the family tree. They're just not directly connected, so to speak. Because you can see a lot of similarities there. But what do you think of this match?
Yeah, they're both kind of bruising teams. They're going to hit you with some real hard shots and stuff like that, and hits a lot of power moves. But, yeah, I mean, I think this was a good little Haas match. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't super long or anything like that, so it didn't take up a bunch of time. So it couldn't be super offensive even if it was bad. But, yeah, like I said, it was just hard-hitting and, big guys slapping meat, like Biggie used to say. So, but, yeah, I think there's room for them. I think they're different enough. I think Briggs and Jensen have a little bit more speed to them than these two guys do, and these guys are a little bit more bruising than those guys are. But yeah, I think they definitely both have their place.
All right, then we get a debut with Luca Crucifino, who defeated Von Wagner via disqualification. It didn't go. His debut didn't go as planned, as Von lost his temper. He got disqualified before slamming Crucifino onto the announce table. So we got this whole Von Wagner thing going on, trying to give the guy a personality, trying to build a backstory with him. What are your thoughts on where Von has been headed lately?
I was definitely interested to see where they were gonna. I mean, they like as another thing. As we go on a little bit, it'll build and build and build. But they needed to go some direction with him. So I guess it's good that he has a direction. But I think, obviously, knowing what I know now, I think it's been good for him, and I think the crowd has kind of gotten behind him a little bit. But yeah, him constantly losing his temper, the crowd pops for it because he really decimates the guys when he does lose his temper. So, but I'm not super excited about the lawyer character of Luca Crucifino, but we'll see if he builds on me.
All right, and then we move on to our main event of this episode with Tiffany Stratton taking on Roxanne Perez in the other semifinals for the NXT Women's Championship tournament. And they battle it out with Stratton showing a ruthlessness previously unseen, leaving Perez in a heap of pain. She hits she goes to hit the prettiest moonsault ever. It gets countered, allowed Roxanne back into the match, but her attempt at pop rocks was countered into the PME and sent Stratton to the NXT Women's Title match at Battleground, which was pretty much a no-brainer for those of us watching and having had watched wrestling like for more than a day. I think Roxanne is in that kind of got to get knocked down to get built back up mode, I think, right now. Mm-hmm. And Tiffany, she was good like when she debuted and I think she's just gotten better and better. I mean, maybe that break was good for her, if it was like an injury or some kind of other kind of medical thing. But I think it's been. I was looking forward to seeing her and Lyra in the finals. I wouldn't be upset if Lyra wins, but the smart money was on Tiffany. What were you thinking about this match?
No, I thought this was really good. I thought it really showcase both girls, and this was a good way to get Tiffany into the finals. This could have been the finals, and I would have been perfectly okay with it. But I understand that they're trying to build Lyra up a little bit, giving her that opportunity. And obviously, Tiffany's probably, like we said, the favorite going into the tournament as a whole. So, definitely an interesting matchup. One that I probably, looking at the bracket ahead of time, probably wouldn't have guessed, but definitely one I was excited to see.
All right. So that brings us to NXT Battleground that took place on May 28th. And we opened in Worcester, Mass. Wicked Eye. We had a PTBN contingent there. Actually, a nice grouping was up there. I had the opportunity to go. Unfortunately for me, it was just one in the cars. But we start off the show with the NXT North American Championship, which is usually what we start off the shows with. And these matches, I don't know what it is about the NXT North American title matches on PLEs, but they're usually the match of the night. And this one, you could argue, may have been that. So it was Wesley defending against Tyler Bate and Joe Gacy. Wesley walked out of NXT Battleground with his historic NXT North American Championship ring still intact as he knocked off both Tyler Bate and Joe Gacy in triple threat. The champion and Bate have been allies in recent weeks, but Bate's desire to be champion has soured the friendship and forced the two to come to blows, with the villainous Gacy watching in the shadows. The two superstars put their differences aside to begin the match to neutralize the leader schism. Then all three superstars looked to gain advantage, but it was the big strong boy who lived up to his nickname by swinging Lee while simultaneously hitting an airplane spin on Gacy. Gacy took control of the match after hitting a Uranagi and reverse DDT on his opponents before locking into a body stretch submission on Lee. Even when Bate tried to break up the submission attempt, Gacy just gave him a big smile before locking the hold on him. As the action continued, Lee nailed both Bate and Gacy with simultaneous cardiac kicks, but couldn't finish the match as both superstars kicked out of pinfall attempts. The pace became frenetic as Lee nailed Bate with a dive to the outside, but it left him susceptible to an Uranagi. When Gacy went for the upside down, Bate countered with another cardiac kick and retained his title. Well, Lee, whoever wrote this, should know their shit. But Lee countered with another cardiac kick and retained his title. I thought this was a tremendous match. That, the cardiac kick on both was good, and that where when Tyler Bate was swinging, Wesley while hitting an airplane spin on Gacy, I was like, that was a feat of strength right there. I really enjoyed this match. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, he really is the big strong boy. That's not just a gimmick; it's a way of life.
He lives it.
But yeah, like you said, the North American Championship usually opens these these PLEs. It's hard to not call them pay-per-views anymore, but anyways, but yeah, they definitely usually open these shows, and it's usually a good thing. It's usually a very high energy match to hype the crowd, and this one definitely did that. Like you said, the double cardiac kick was awesome at that point, and then the feat of strength that Bate did was also a really great spot. And I think the upside down into the cardiac kick was a really awesome way to finish it. I thought that was really solid because it really looked like Gacy was going to pull it off, but Wesley kind of survived out of nowhere once again. But yeah, really, really strong match. Usually probably would have been my match of the night, but I think I'd probably give it to another one. We'll talk about it in a minute. All
right. Yeah. And Gacy, for a guy, let's just say he's a little on the chubbier side, he can move around, and so I think he was able to keep up, because sometimes you go into these matches and you think like it's the working title, right? It's usually the somewhat smaller guys that are more high flyers or the more classically athletic, and when there's a big guy in there, you're kind of like, whoa, but then they never seem to disappoint, which is no difference here. So then we move on to the NXT Heritage Cup Championship, and we have it contested. It was the first ever Heritage Cup match on American soil. Noam Dar was defending against Dragon Lee. It was being contested under Heritage Cup rules. The first 3 minutes were a feeling out process, as neither superstar picked up the fall in a lot of time. Second round was much faster pace, as Dar even picked up the first fall thanks to a crafty roll-up. Noam Dar spent the third round working Dragon Lee over, using several holds and submissions to keep the high-flying superstar grounded. As the round came to a close, Dar hit Lee with a cheap shot after the bell rang. It clearly stung Lee was not in a good place for round 4, but he managed to pick up a fall after Noam Dar was distracted by a fight between Oro Mensah and Nathan Frazier. The decisive blow came in the final round when Last Legend and Jakara Jackson appeared out of nowhere attacking Lee while the referee was distracted. Their presence allowed Dar to hit the Nova Roller and retain the Heritage Cup. I thought this was fine. I'm not that familiar with Heritage Cup. NXT UK, I watched when I could remember, about it being on, because it was always like dropped during the day. I think on Thursdays, I think it was.
That was right, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I don't remember. I don't think I ever watched a Heritage Cup match. So, no, but I'm just being honest. I mean,
no, yeah,
I think Dragon Lee, for a guy that came in all his fanfare, has he had a big win yet? Really?
No, he hadn't really won at all.
No?
I feel like he's losing a bunch. So yeah, and I that really doesn't improve in the coming weeks after this. So I'm very confused by the booking of him so far. But I mean, he's put on really good matches, so that's definitely not the problem. But they sure don't seem to be giving him a bunch of wins. But I don't remember who I was talking. It was probably Ryan. Ryan Gray is probably the biggest NXT fan outside of the two of us. But I think I was talking to him. This is one of those styles of matches I really loved during like the pandemic in those NXT UK matches. But I feel like this is like a small crowd, like either or like no crowd or small crowd style of match that they can like really. I don't know. I just don't think it works in like a big arena like this because it's it's real stop and start, real like I don't know. It just came across a lot better during those NXT UK tapings and stuff like that because there was either like a small crowd or a lot of them happened during the pandemic where there was no crowd, and I just feel like for some reason it worked a little bit better in that environment, and it could work in the NXT arena, but in these big arenas with the stop and start, they have the 3 minutes and they stop and then they start again. I feel like it's very hard to get like into real hard unless that last fall or whatever is just a absolute non-stop just banger of a 3 minutes. But yeah, it's a weird style and I'm just not sure it works in these big arenas.
Yeah, it's for me. Yeah, it's one of those things. If you're not used to it, if you're not familiar with it, you're kind of like, what is happening? So, all right.
It's just not the most exciting thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But it worked in those like small arena settings like NXT UK was.
Yeah, because if it was something that originated here on NXT, it wasn't something that just all of a sudden like kind of like appeared, so to speak. Because I mean, how many people really watched NXT UK? Mm-hmm. Because
only psychopaths like me.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I mean, I liked it. No, but I enjoyed it when I watched it. It's just one of those things like I could never, it was never like in the front of my head because it's like, we have Raw, and NXT on USA, SmackDown's on Fox, and if you want to talk about like AEW, it's like when those are on. Mm-hmm. It's on, but when it's not on like a regular channel and it's on a streaming service, that's when it's like kind of like you're not exactly appointment television, I guess, for you. Yeah. And it's also not airing, like dropping like in nighttime,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got
you. Anyway, so moving on to our next match, which is a last man standing match between Ilja Dragunov and Dijak. Action was intense from the jump as the two superstars battled each other from the beginning. Both Dragunov and Dijak were willing to do whatever it took to win, with the Mad Dragon even crashing through a table in order to hurt his opponent. The brutality continued with a barrage of steel step shots, but Dragunov used them to his advantage as he managed to hit a coast-to-coast, very impressive too, while Dijak was trapped in the corner. Dijak battled back and hit a choke slam on the apron, followed by Feast Your Eyes. Dijak began to torture Dragunov, bashing him with a kendo stick and a steel chair. When Dragunov finally countered, he hit a dazed Dijak with a flying forearm off the top of the steel steps and onto a steel chair, which finally kept Dijak down for the 10 count. These two guys beat the crap out of each other, basically. And I was all there for it. I thought the usage of the weapons was really good in this. And Dijak's Dragunov's one of those people. You just like, he just doesn't care. Like he just wants to inflict pain, and doesn't matter how much pain he has to incur as long as you're hurting. Mm-hmm. And Dijak's another guy. It's like, has he had a big win since the repackage on NXT? I mean, I do like the new gimmick and I like the repack, but he hasn't had a big win yet. Well, what are your thoughts on the match here?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more forgiving with him. I feel like he came back down to kind of help out the younger guys and be more of a base for those kind of guys to learn. And he's had some good matches with guys. So yeah, but it is one of those things where, like you said, he hasn't gotten many wins, and especially not any real big ones. But yeah, Dragunov's one of those guys that just he'll hurt himself just to hurt you even more than he hurt himself in the process. Because like him just throwing himself through the table just to take Dijak out on the other side was awesome. The finish where he leaps off the steps and hits the forearm to the back of the neck was pretty great. I thought when Dijak came out and like he warned the people in the crowd like you need to get out of here, that was actually his wife and daughter, so he was like, I need you to leave and not watch this. So I thought that was a pretty cool spot to start the match. But yeah, they just threw weapons and tables and stairs and all kind of good stuff throughout this one. This was definitely my match of the night because they definitely delivered on an excellent match for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying like Dijak is still like, look, his series with Keith Lee was incredible, right? Yeah. And the guy can go. I'm just talking about wins and losses with him at least.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. It's like, the guy can go. I just don't want him to lose credibility. Yeah. Like with the crowd because like they don't see him win big matches. That's what I mean. Like I don't want it to hurt him. He's still going to put on a great match. Yeah. Especially for a guy his size, and I have ideas for him and a few other people, possibilities where they could maybe go with them. But no, I just want to see, like, that's the thing. It's like, I want, you have these people there, you brought them, you went through all this trouble, give them, a win, even if maybe, all right, look, if it's like a whole bunch of squashes, wins are wins, right? He may not win like on a PLE, but if he's winning on NXT television, once or twice a month, still keeps, because people say wins and losses don't matter. Well, sometimes it does. Yeah. when it's lopsided.
Yeah, and especially with Dragon Lee, because he's always in a quote unquote big match, I guess, and he's probably won like 2 or 3 times the whole time he's been out. I mean, really, like honestly, I don't think he's gotten a ton of wins. So, but yeah, and like I said, Dijak's been one of those main roster guys, so I'm a little bit more forgiving of it, but you're definitely right. He definitely needs to get more wins to not lose that credibility for sure.
All right, so we move on to the NXT Tag Team Championship with Gallus defending against the Creed brothers. We got Coffee and Wolfgang starting the match by dominating Brutus Creed, but the champions attempt to deliver a cheap shot on Julius Creed. It backfired and allowed a tag. Julius spent the next few moments on absolute terror as he tossed around both members of Gallus with relative ease and amazing display of athleticism. I call it his own version of Suplex City, but they were belly to belly suplexes, overhead no less too. Uh-huh. And as the action rolled on, Ivy now tripped up Coffee, which one is it? Mark Coffee, as he tried to interfere with the match, but Ava appeared at ringside and blindsided Ivy, which distracted the Creeds. With their backs turned, the Creeds were helpless as Gallus hit a devastating fireman's carry running kick combination to earn the victory. I thought this was a really fun kind of Hoss tag team match. Julius Creed is a stud. I mean, this guy, the power moves that he does, like the whole, like where he's got like Cesaro's strength. I think this kid, I was telling my son, I'm like, Vinci is like the next Cesaro. Maybe Julius Creed could be the next Cesaro, just with that pure strength and athleticism. And he's just a beast. And Brutus has grown on me. In the beginning, I was like, Bruce, like, what? Who is this guy? This guy is like kind of like he's like somebody's like younger brother who used to eat paste as a kid or something like that. And no, but he started developing a personality, and I think these guys are good, but I think their time is, at this point is coming to a close, and Gallus needs those big wins to keep establishing themselves stateside. So yeah, I like the match. The whole, Ava interfering, with Ivy, I think that goes on a little long to me over time, but I definitely thought this was a good match. And it kind of, gives the Creeds, I guess, a little bit of like they weren't beat like cleanly, so to speak. It took a distraction for them to lose the match. But what do you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I definitely think it was better than the tag at Stand and Deliver, for sure. I still don't think these guys just have super duper chemistry. I think they're all individually very good, but I something just doesn't click with me with these two teams together. Of course, like you said, Julius with the suplexes that he threw throughout the match were absolutely great, and Gallus sneaks out yet another win. But like you said, it puts another notch in their belt, kind of building their championship legacy a little bit. So. Yeah, I thought it was really good, like you said, but it had another gear that I think it could have reached, and it didn't quite get there for me.
All right, so we move on to the finals of the NXT Women's Championship Tournament. Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton. Valkyria was clearly not at 100% as she was still wearing the effects of Cora Jade's attack from the last show. Stratton frequently targeted Valkyria's injured knee, and despite Valkyria's efforts to rally, her leg caused her problems. Stratton at times was overconfident, becoming caught in pinfall attempts, but she managed to kick out at 2 every time. Stratton's first attempt at the prettiest moonsault ever was countered, but Valkyria's subsequent quick kick didn't have enough power, and Stratton's second attempt clinched the NXT Women's title, and the blonde bombshell walked out of NXT Battleground as the new NXT Women's Champion. Foregone conclusion, I think Lyra put on a good show. She sold the knee quite a bit. She hit the kicks, okay. There were a couple of
better
times
on this one for sure.
They were some of the better ones. I think there was a couple of times where I think they had to make a little adjustments, like where Tiffany had to scooch over a bit to make sure she can get her foot on the rope at one point. Mm-hmm. But the right person won. It was Tiffany's night, and it was. But Lyra kind of gave you a little bit of a doubt at times, but I don't think it was anything too much at any point. But I thought this was a pretty solid women's championship match, and now the Tiffany Stratton era begins. And what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was really solid. They got you to bite a little bit enough on Lyra maybe winning. She had a couple of moves to where she did a pin afterwards where you could think, oh, maybe this is the end. You definitely thought Tiffany would win going in, just seeing the two people that they chose to be in the finals, because she was a favorite, even if any of the other higher ranking superstars would have been in the finals with her. But really, really good stuff. I thought Lyra hit the kicks a little bit better in this one. She's definitely talented in ring. Character is a little bit more of her thing, but I think they just need to tell more about her persona and kind of her background to kind of bring that out of her. But yeah, Tiffany was absolutely the correct choice, and it's exciting to see her finally get the opportunity to be the head girl. So yep.
There you go. All right, and now to our main event for the night. We have the NXT champion Carmelo Hayes defending against Braun Breaker in a reversal of what was it, Stand and Deliver, where right, that was it was Braun and Carmelo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but the roles are reversed here with the babyface heel dynamic. And Hayes, despite support from his hometown crowd, Hayes was battered and bruised by Braun Breaker to begin the match, with Braun mocking him at every step. Breaker even began showing off, hitting incredible moves like a top rope hurricanrana. Right when Hayes gained some momentum, Breaker crushed him with a spear in midair, silencing the low mass crowd. Hayes then continued to show his championship medal by kicking out and refusing to give in to Braun's wrath, just as he stunned the champion. Hayes hit a springboard back elbow, which put Breaker into a heap of trouble. Before he could realize it, Breaker was hit with nothing but net, allowing Hayes to retain the NXT championship, sending the NXT universe into a frenzy, and the hometown boy successfully walks out with his title. I enjoyed this match. Braun has started to come into his own as a heel. I'm kind of digging it. And, Mello was one of those guys, like, yeah, as a heel, he's kind of like a dick, so to speak. But his move set is like very babyface, right? And I enjoyed this match. What did you think, and where would you rank it compared to our last match?
Oh, I thought this one came off way better than the last match. I think they didn't really know how to work the last match, considering they were both still pretty much faces. I think Carmelo was on the healer side, but he was definitely turning babyface. It was more of that respect type angle that I really don't like. We had the whole Apollo Braun match a while ago that was built on respect and all that. So I don't know if the storytellers in NXT really know how to do that storyline, and these guys are young still. That they'll continue to grow, and they're both great for the grand scheme of things. But I just think they didn't really know how to work that stand and deliver match, and it kind of ended up being super disappointing for the most part. But I thought this one super delivered. I think the fact that you had a heel and a face, and especially since Carmelo was in his hometown, I think they hit a bunch of really cool moves, and I think this one really blew that stand and deliver match out of the water for me personally.
Yeah. Overall, what are your thoughts on the show?
I thought it was really great. I think it's one of the better, if not maybe the best PLE that they put together. I don't think anything really stunk. And I think a couple of things over delivered. I think the main event was better than I think a lot of people probably thought it would be, considering their last match. And then the last man standing match was absolutely incredible. And your North American and tag titles are usually always pretty solid. The Heritage Cup may have been the low level for the night, but I think everything either over delivered or delivered. Other than that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was a very enjoyable show to watch. So,
right. And I think our live contingent really had a good time from what I've heard. So, yep.
Of course, they always do. I have been to two NXT takeovers with some members of the live contingent, and it's always a good time no matter what. So,
absolutely,
it was fun. Yeah. All right, so we move on to the next NXT show, which was 2 days later on May 30th. We open with, I guess, the culmination of the Toxic Attraction implosion, right? With Gigi Dolan taking on JC Jane in a weaponized steel cage match. Before the match could even begin, JC attacked Gigi and brutalized her on the outside before tossing her into the ring through the open door. Then they used a bevy of dangerous weapons, including belts, chains, thorn-wrapped bats, trash cans, and even the cage itself. After JC set up a table, the two superstars scaled the cage and found themselves precariously placed high above the ring. Suddenly, Gigi found her footing and launched Jane through the table with a thunderous chokeslam that ended the war for good. I mean, I like this. I am happy Gigi went over. I think she had been getting, she had a couple of wins here and there, but she didn't, she was kind of like on the losing end of the feud up to this point. But I don't think it hurts JC at all being the heel, but I think had Gigi lost this, her momentum would have been pretty much completely diminished. So what were your thinks on that of your beloved Gigi going over?
She had a pretty big gusher from the back of her head during this match, so she
mashed her hair.
That only made her hotter. So I'm just kidding. No, but this is exactly what it needed to be. This is the type of match where I think these two girls can excel. I think they're one-on-one regular matches. I think this needed to be a little bit more personal, a little bit more have weapons and stuff like that. I think this definitely worked to their advantage. And I think this is a good way to end the rivalry. Like you said, I think JC was all right taking the loss, but I think Gigi really needed the win, so they definitely went with the right direction, I think, for sure.
Let me ask you a question now. Say the time comes to bring these two ladies up. Would you, if they were to bring them up as Toxic Attraction, like reunite them, what would your thoughts be on that? Like I know kind of because a lot of times they do a lot of reversals and changes when somebody, is NXT, could be a babyface up till the day they leave and then they come in as a heel or vice versa. So what would your thoughts be on that? Because I still think that they could have a decent run on the main roster as Toxic Attraction, but I don't know. What would you think?
I don't think they could just straight up just put them up and put them back together. I think they would probably need to lean towards maybe Gigi starting to understand that like maybe JC's right about certain things, and just start to kind of turn heel. And then like if they show up on the main roster and they're back together, like that makes sense. But there definitely needs to be a progression of some type with Gigi to where she's starting to see like, maybe JC was always right. I need to kind of, be a little bit more bitchy to get what I really want.
All right. Moving on to Wesley and Tyler Bate taking on the Dyad. Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed look crisp early on, systematically cutting off half the ring to keep Lee from tagging in Bate. After a surprising appearance from Mustafa Ali, Lee and Bate picked up the pace and began to take control. After a flurry of action, Lee hit a pair of cardiac kicks, and then a Tyler Driver 97 from Bate was good enough to pick up the win, and the dastardly duo of the Schism, known as the Dyad, was defeated. I enjoyed this match. I think, Wes and Tyler have really good chemistry together, and Fowler and Reed are still great, even though I think they could be leaving in the fall, but I thought this was a fun match. What'd you think?
No, yeah, definitely. Lee and Bate definitely have a ton of chemistry, like you said. And yeah, the Dyad are one of those teams that they can go with pretty much anybody. It seems like they've had a bunch of really good matches lately. If they do, in fact, leave, which I think is pretty much what they've said they're going to do when their contract runs out, it's going to be sad to see them go. Hopefully they'll get treated the way that they want to get treated wherever else they may end up. But yeah, they're definitely not pulling anything back, knowing that they may not be there for the long run.
All right. So then we got Channing Stacks Lorenzo taking on Joe Coffey. Worried about Tony D'Angelo's detention, Stacks comes in to take on Joe Coffey, and a crunching belly-to-belly superplex seemingly had the match won for Coffey, but a resilient Stacks kept fighting back. A tussle on the outside moments later saw Coffey send Stacks into the steel steps. That then started the beginning of the end. Coffey tossed the underboss back into the ring and hit a best for the bells to a discus lariat to earn the victory. Now, I know Joe Coffey is one of your least favorite guys out there, but for the storyline, I think, that they're doing, and obviously we're kind of glancing over the storylines of backstage stuff, kind of just concentrating on the matches, at least for this episode. The whole incarceration thing with Stacks and with Tony and Gallus getting involved in this. I don't really understand, I don't know. I don't love this storyline, but I guess it's something to keep these guys, have a reason to fight. But what do you think of this match?
Yeah, I almost wonder if Tony D had like a injury of some sort that he just needed to rehab for a little bit, so they had to come up with some kind of storyline to take him out for a little bit. But yeah, they just haven't really fleshed a ton of it out. I feel like they haven't really said why he's in jail, or the Coffees and Wolfgang haven't really said anything to like why he's there, other than he's obviously involved in something that's less than legal or whatever you want to say. But the match was good. Yeah, Joe Coffey's just one of those guys that's pretty boring in ring to me for whatever reason. I don't know really how to describe it, but he just never really excites me very much. But I think the match was pretty good considering that fact. But yeah, it was good. Definitely progressed the storyline along. But yeah, Joe's just not one of those guys that ever's going to blow my socks off, I guess.
All right, now we move on to Ivy Nile taking on Cora Jade. And Ivy Nile's long-standing rivalry with Schism still in the back of her head as she takes on NXT's resident mean girl. Nile's in the middle of teaching Jade a lesson in respect, but then Ava appeared at ringside, tried to distract her. Nile then locked in her signature Dragon Sleeper, but the chaos allowed Jade to hit Jaded and walk away as the victor. So Ivy has been growing on me. I think she's been getting better in the ring. Her personality is starting to get better. It still needs a lot of work. Her in-ring, though, has really improved. She's moving. She's kind of moving upwards, I think, in terms of like the pecking order, I guess, in the NXT Women's division. And it's good to see Cora picking up a victory because I think she's a reclamation. I don't know. I can't talk to that.
I know what you mean.
She needs to get herself back up because I think she's somebody that should, be in the title picture and probably will hold the belt at some point over the next year or so. This was a quick match. It was a lot about storyline to continue the Creeds and Ivy and Schism feud, and Cora just happened to be the benefactor, I guess, of this distraction. What do you think of this match here?
Yeah, this was definitely a match that Cora needed to win. I do think Ivy looked very good, like you said. She's definitely getting better. I'm interested to see something we'll talk about, obviously, in an episode to come. But I'm going to be interested to see where she goes forward from where we are now. But yeah, this was definitely a match to get Cora over. She won by nefarious means. Ava shows up and that distracts Ivy. But Cora getting a win is definitely something she needed.
Yep. All right. And on to the main event for this show, which is Carmelo Hayes defending against Noam Dar, the NXT Championship. Dar gave Hayes a lot of problems as he still wasn't 100% after facing Braun Breaker just 48 hours prior. However, as the match progressed, the champion built momentum and slowly slowed down the speedy Noam Dar. Hayes found himself in more trouble after Trick Williams was ejected from ringside after striking Oro Mensah, much to the delight of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. When Mensah tried interfering again, Dragon Lee and Nathan Frazier evened the odds, which allowed Hayes enough time to hit nothing but net and retain his title. After the match, we get Baron Corbin appearing and decimating the champion. So this whole little faction of Noam Dar, it looks like it's starting to come into like some kind of shape here. I like this match. Hayes played like, the beat up champion. Dar gave him a good showing. Baron Corbin showing up at the end was a little surprising. I mean, he is a free agent, so I think that's why they kind of made a bunch of people free agents, I guess, in the latest draft, because we wouldn't be shocked having them show up. Although we are getting a number of Raw and SmackDown superstars appearing on NXT a lot more these days. But I mean, I thought this was a fine TV main event. And, interested to see where they go with Baron Corbin.
Yeah, I thought the match was really good. These guys are two guys that are always going to give you a pretty solid match for sure. And Carmelo usually produces a good amount of bangers, even on these TV episodes. But, they gave him plenty of time. And I think they just really did some awesome stuff throughout this one. And Dar doesn't look worse for losing. He was resilient and really worked Mello over for a good bit of the match. And obviously Dragon Lee and Frazier come out at some point and kind of distract him a little bit. But yeah, Corbin showing up really surprised me. It makes sense. I think he's a good guy to kind of do what he does throughout the next few weeks. But yeah, definitely a good move, I think.
All right. Now moving on to the NXT show from June 6th. Oh, by the way, I don't know if they mentioned on this show. I don't think it's in my notes, but the name of this new group is the Meta 4.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Like, before we get into the show, what are your thoughts on this grouping here? I mean, Oro Mensah, was kind of like one of those who he's been here for a little bit, not that long, but we kind of don't know really much about this guy. We don't know who he is. Obviously he was portrayed as a babyface for the beginning, but now he's obviously turned heel. Last Legend, somebody who's been there for quite some time, tried to do the talk show thing, and then we got Jakara Jackson, who's really hasn't been on TV all that much. I mean, she's appeared like Battle Royals and everything, not a lot of matches, but it's an interesting grouping. What are your thoughts on this new faction being formed?
I think Noam's pretty charismatic, and he can be the leader of a group like this. And I think it gives those other three kind of something to do. I think they were, with Mensah and Lash Legend, they were kind of spinning their wheels. They get TV time sometimes, but it's usually at a squash match or a match that doesn't really have much worth or whatever you want to say. Jakara's fairly new, like you said, so. I think it gives three of the four of them something to do where maybe they weren't doing anything ahead of time, and I think Noam can kind of guide them in a good way. So I like it so far.
All right. So we are going to move on to the June 6th show, and we start off with a 6-person tag team match with the Schism, Ava, Rip Fowler, and Jaggery taking on Julius and Brutus Creed, along with Ivy Nile. Early shows of strength from Diamond Mine were countered by sneaky tactics of Schism. And when the action broke down, it flavored the terrifying trio. Ivy and Io locked in the Dragon Sleeper on Ava, but Jagger Reed interfered, and the distraction caused the referee to not see Ava hit Ivy with the signature Mask of the Schism, and the sequence spelled doom for the Diamond Mind. I mean, like I said, this feud is continuing on. I think it's okay. I mean, I don't know what else really for the Creeds to do after losing to Gallus, right? To move on. The Ava Ivy thing. I mean, Ava's still really green, even though she's got the pedigree there. But I thought this was fine for what it was, right? The guys put on a decent match. Ava snuck out the win. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think the work the guys did was very good. I think these guys. I think unlike Gallus and the Creeds, I think Creeds and Dyad have a pretty good chemistry together. Yeah, Ava's probably still not ready to have kind of a very meaningful or long match by herself. She needs to be kind of sneak in these tags and have attack with like nefarious means or something like that throughout. So she definitely needs to get a little bit more experience in the PC about how to kind of work a match a little bit more before she's stuck in there by herself. But I think the guys definitely did some good work in this one.
Yeah, they carried it. It was the guys were the workhorses and the girls did the story. So that's pretty much what it was. So then we move on to Danny Palmer taking on Blair Davenport, who had just revealed herself as the masked attacker that had taken out, let's see, Nikita. She took out Sol Ruka, and she took out Wendy Chu. So that's actually quite a number of women who were featured quite a bit on the shelf at the moment. So, and I don't know the timetable for all of them. I think Nikita we're saying like in the fall, Sol probably in the winter. I don't know what's going on with Wendy, but
she kind of randomly came back and after she was attacked, and then she's kind of disappeared again. So I don't know what the deal with her is. But yeah, Nikita will probably be back fairly soon. I think she's been out for a good while, but Sol just went out like 2 or 3 months ago, so she'll probably be maybe late winter, early 2024 maybe. So
I mean, maybe we get her in the Rumble to hit the Soul Snatcher on somebody and then get eliminated. Maybe we could see that, I think, as her return. All right, so Blair Davenport made an example out of Danny Palmer, used her brutal offensive style to keep the athletic Palmer ground. Davenport mercifully ended the match with her signature Falcon Arrow. I like Blair Davenport. I think she's stepping in to where I thought Isla Dawn was going for a while. I think Isla Dawn, her stay was not as long as I anticipated it was going to be in NXT. But I think she's like the brutal, the Brit who's she's basically beating the crap out of every woman she's gone in there. I mean, Danny Palmer still relatively new, only debuted, outside of Level Up fairly recently. I think it was a statement. It doesn't hurt Danny at all. I mean, Blair is somebody that's going to be pretty much shot up to the top of the women's card, maybe your number 2 heel. Or 3, maybe 2. Her, Cora, maybe 2, 3 after Tiffany. I thought it was fine for what it was, though. It just shows Blair is a badass, and she's going to be kicking the crap out of people going forward.
Yeah, and she's a tall girl. She's real big. So she made poor Danny look like super small in this match, but she beat the crap out of her, like you said. Definitely just a match to put her over, but definitely interested to see where she goes. As we go forward, for sure.
Speaking of tall girls, my Stevie Turner hasn't been on for quite a bit too. Yeah, I thought she could have been the one doing the attacks, but I like having Blair being that person.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have her back, without a doubt.
All right, now we get Trick Williams taking on Baron Corbin to come to the basically the aid of his friend. Williams gets the jump on Corbin early, but the veteran savviness of Corbin prevailed as he began to overwhelm his opponent. And he began wisely targeting Williams' knee, and one final blow to allowed him to hit End of Days to give himself the win. Trick Williams, and I've been a little down on that guy, has been improving. His I didn't think his personality could be a face, but he's been a pretty good hype man. His in-ring has gotten better. And as much as a lot of people crap on Baron Corbin, I don't like his characters, and that's not his fault. He does whatever he's given.
Mm-hmm.
The Deep Six and the End of Days, I think, are pretty badass.
Mm.
I mean, when he hits that End of Days and it looks crisp, it's a badass move. So, of course, this was the right call Baron Corbin doesn't need to be built up, but in terms of NXT, he needs to get a couple of wins before he takes on Carmelo. And I thought this was fine. And Trick, had a decent showing here for the short match it was. I thought he, carried his own before being overwhelmed and outmatched.
Yeah. I think Corbin's one of those guys that gets shit upon more than he probably should. I think he's really solid. I think, like you said, he's a good guy to have because he'll kind of do whatever you ask him to do, and he's not going to gripe too much about it. But I don't think they've always given him the best stuff. But I think he always brings it in ring. And like you said, he has some really cool moves. His attire in this match was left a little bit to be desired. He had like gym shorts and a t-shirt on. So, but yeah, like you said, Trick, I think brought his into this really well, and I thought this match super surprised me when they announced this one. I was like, this could get brutal and not in a good way, but I thought it ended up coming out really well, and I think Trick is definitely improving a lot.
All right, so then we have Joe Gacy taking on Mustafa Ali, and we got Mustafa Ali having his hands full with Gacy, even getting hit with several crushing moves, including Gacy's devastating Uranagi. Ali righted the ship, though, and used his supreme athleticism to down Gacy long enough to hit an incredible 450 splash for the win. I am not upset that Ali is in NXT right now. I think he's a good addition. He's a guy that, is kind of over on the main roster, but has never really found his footing. I mean, in terms of, Retribution, when he turned heel and then became the leader of it, I was kind of on him being that guy.
Yep.
I kind of would prefer the leader to be somebody who gets unmasked and not somebody who just kind of like turns heel.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do love him in the ring. He does kind of remind me a little bit of Neville Pac in there, but yeah. And Gacy's one of those guys. I think wins and losses don't exactly hurt him. Because he's more about the character at times. Like, I don't know if he'll ever hold a belt, but it's like, when Bray, was in his heyday. Did Bray need a title? No, Bray needed to do the personality thing, which I actually kind of like. I kind of like Gacy's character stuff. I love the Schism's music, and their presentation. So I'm not upset by this result, and it gives Ali like a win over an established NXT guy. So what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I do like that Ali has come down and he got a good establishing win here. I am a little surprised they let him beat Gacy as quick as he did. It only went like 3 or 4 minutes, so that was kind of surprising. But yeah, Gacy is more character, and it's definitely him losing is definitely leading to something within Schism as we'll go forward throughout the weeks. Yeah, it was good to see Ali get a win. Good to see him back down here. I think he's a guy that really could benefit from having a run here because he had come in the previous week and kind of done commentary and helped Wes and Tyler out. But yeah, I think he's a good guy to have down there. He's one of those good free agent guys because he can kind of get put in wherever they kind of need him at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a thing with the underutilized guys on the main roster. Are coming down. Like, we'll see a few more start to show up soon. So we move on to Damon Kemp taking on the Alpha Wolf, Eddie Thorpe. Thorpe and Kemp were nearly equal throughout their matchup, but one pin attempt by Thorpe became a disaster for Kemp. As despite his foot being on the rope, the official didn't see it and finished his 3 count, handing Thorpe the win. So this is, I guess, the start of something here as we're going to see unfold. I've not been high on Damon Kemp so far. I think he's okay. I mean, maybe there's potential there. Fun fact, something I didn't know until very recently, and that you actually knew, is that Damon Kemp is actually Gable Stevenson's brother. So, what is his name? Danny Stevenson, I think? right?
It's Bobby Stevenson.
Bobby Stevenson. Sorry, I knew it was something with a Y at the end. Facts are, are those important? I don't know. But no, I thought this was fine. I mean, it's leading to something. So, at the time you're kind of like on it, but then once you see how it kind of like unfolds and where it's going to go and where it could ultimately lead, you're like, I'm okay with this guy being on TV right now. So Eddie Thorpe was fine in this match, and the right guy goes over here.
Yeah, the right guy definitely went over. This one has been building for quite a bit. I feel like Damon's been a thorn in Eddie's side for quite a bit. I feel like they've had quite a few backstage segments where Damon talks shit, and Eddie wants to go after him, but obviously kind of holds back and always kind of has a buddy there to make sure he doesn't attack him. So, but yeah, solid enough match. Eddie went over as he should have, but this one obviously is something that continues, kind of like you said.
All right, now we move on to Dabba-Kato taking on SCRYPTS. So Dabba-Kato was manhandling the recently unmasked SCRYPTS when appearance by Axiom confused and disoriented the massive superstar. The distraction by Axiom opened the door for SCRYPTS as he rolled up Dabba-Kato and stole a victory from his much larger opponent.
Oh, Jesus.
This was a sloppy ass match, and I mean, how the whole SCRYPTS thing too. I mean, it's friggin' Reggie. Yeah, I wasn't big on the whole Reggie name and all that, but he's keeping the gear, but he doesn't have the mask, and it doesn't really fit the guy, right? I don't think he's the right person for this character, I guess, so to speak. I mean, his flippity floppities are decent, like he's okay with that, but this did not come off well on TV to me, and I'm like one of those like, what are we doing here, guys? So anything?
I don't have a ton of words for this one.
The less said about this, the better we all are.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously Axiom creates the distraction that helps SCRYPTS win, but like, you let SCRYPTS beat this guy who looked like this absolutely unstoppable force, but you let SCRYPTS beat him, but you don't let Axiom beat him. So I just, and like you said, it was kind of sloppy. Obviously it was a surprise result. You didn't see SCRYPTS probably winning this match, as he hasn't won probably very many matches since he debuted. So, but yeah, if SCRYPTS went away tomorrow, I would not be sad. I'll say that.
No, we wouldn't miss him. Not at all. All right. So then our main event for this show is a number one contender of Battle Royal for the NXT Women's Championship. The eliminations came fast and furious with JC Jane, Cora Jade, Lyra Valkyria, and free agent Dana Brooke, all looking strong early on. Blair Davenport came down to ringside and brawled with Roxanne Perez before she was eliminated. The final four seemingly came down to Jade, Brooke, Fallon Henley, and Kiana James, but Thea Hale reappeared and reestablished herself into the match. Almost out of nowhere, Hale eliminated both Jade and Brooke to make herself number one contender. I thought this was fun. I love Thea. She's a little pit bull that is manic energy. Did the classic, like, we thought she was eliminated and then comes back. I was hoping it wasn't going to be Dana Brooke, although I am not upset to see her there because she was spinning her wheels on the main roster. I think the last time she had any kind of momentum was before Mandy came back down to NXT when they had like their little tag team going.
Yeah.
She's a veteran presence. She's somebody that could use, being on TV and being in matches and having like a purpose, which is not something she's had really for quite some time, maybe since she was part of the Primetime Players, which was ridiculous. Yeah, I don't remember a lot of things, but unfortunately I remember that. But no, I thought this was fun. There was a little surprise that Thea won, but I wasn't upset by it. What are your thoughts on this Battle Royal?
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts too. I wasn't expecting Thea to be the one to win this, but I was. It was a good surprise for sure. She's definitely been working real hard, and she's definitely been really good in the backstage segments. Like you said, she's kind of got that pit bull mentality when she's in the match. So, the battle royals are kind of iffy. usually, even if it's with guys that are super experienced, but you know, they're just not the most exciting kind of match. I mean, obviously the Royal Rumble's one of the better matches, but it has the countdown and all that kind of stuff, and you know, it has a big prize at the end, like it does. So, but yeah, Thea was a solid choice. Definitely not the one that I thought they might go with, but I'm definitely excited to see her get a shot.
Yeah, they tend to do women's battle royals more than men, don't you think? In the NXT brand,
especially on NXT for sure. Yeah, I think it's just an easy way to kind of name a new number one contender.
Yeah,
and maybe it's what they go to too often, but
yeah, which they don't have to really like explain, right? Because anybody could win. Oh, look, Danny Palmer is getting a title match because she had just happened to win this battle royal by whatever reason, because these other people eliminated themselves, right? So yeah, it's a kind of a cop out, so to speak. Not cop out, but you know, like it's like a something they go to, I guess, to because like Thea, you know, she hasn't had too many wins, like 1 or 2 wins on TV up till now. So to justify her, you know, getting a title match without something like this would be a hard sell, even for NXT, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right, so moving on to the episode from June 13th.
Hold on. Yeah, before you move on to the next episode, after that, Braun challenges Seth Rollins, so that'll happen
right.
next week. But I just wanted to mention that before we moved on to the next one. But you can go right ahead now.
Yeah, these write-ups only have the matches, so we are moving a little at a feverishly pace.
No,
here.
you're good. You're good. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. That's why you're the one carrying the weight here. I set them up, you knock them down. All right. So we open our June 13th episode with a 6-man tag match with the Schism taking on Wesley, Tyler Bate, and Mustafa Ali. The camaraderie of Gacy, Fowler, and Reed was on point to begin the match as they flexed their collective muscles to keep their opponents down and off balance. The action broke down and caused the official to miss Bate tagging into the match, but Gacy's pinfall on Lee was broken up by a second official recognizing the error. Lee, Bate, and Ali used the confusion to their advantage and defeated Schism to put this terrible ordeal behind them. I enjoyed this match. It was, you know, kind of fast, furious. You know, you have pretty much all good workers in here. You know, you got Lee, Bate, and Ali, all great, and you got the Dyad, or great, and Gacy's good. So I, you know, enjoyed this. You know, it's keeping up with that, a hot start to the shows. We get that really good match to knock us to take off from the starting gate. So, yeah, what do you think of that one?
Yeah, the non-Schism team is 3 guys that are just always going to produce really good matches, TV, PLE, anywhere. That they are just really solid wrestlers overall, performers. And then the Schism guys are really good as well. Especially the Dyad. I think they're a really good tag team. Gacy has his matches, I think, where he's a good fit with the people that he's in there with. But this continues to build the whole thing that Gacy takes the pin again. So it kind of continues that rift that he is starting to form between the Dyad and Joe, because Joe's not pulling his weight, and they feel that they are. So there's that. Yes,
the roots of the tree are starting to wilt.
Yep.
All right. So we have Cora Jade taking on Thea Hale. Jade was in control for the beginning of the match, but then Dana Brooke appeared, which drew the ire of Cora. NXT's resident mean girl had Hale in a bad spot on the outside and even threatened to hit her with her signature kendo stick, but the official confiscated it. And while their back was turned, Brooke shoved Jade into the steel steps. With Jade reeling, Hale was able to lock in the Kimura lock and pick up the huge victory ahead of her future NXT women's title match. So she's learning the Kimura lock backstage and through Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak, who I'm kind of like on right now. I think there's something missing from Charlie Dempsey right now. I think there's like it's not on point, and I think maybe if like a certain family member can appear on TV at some point, I think that would do him wonders to help him out. But I thought this was fine. You know, Thea versus Cora 1-on-1 with nothing, no outside anything happening is, you know, she could pick up a sneak victory, but you know, you kind of need that interference from Dana Brooke help out Thea here because she's still kind of playing that underdog role.
Mhm.
Like, you can't have her lose here anyway,
Yeah.
right? Because she's got that title match coming up. But I thought it was fine for what it was. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Thea definitely needed to get the win to kind of build on her momentum. Like you said, she's starting to learn kind of grappling and submission wrestling from Dempsey and Gulak backstage, and there's little segments that they have going on. So it's good to kind of see that kind of play into the match. But yeah, it kind of, Jade got a victory the previous week, so you thought she was kind of maybe building some momentum. So it's kind of stinks to see her lose here, but she kind of punked out Dana Brooke in the backstage, I think later in that episode or earlier in this one. So her getting involved obviously makes sense.
Yes. All right. So then we move on to Nathan Frazier taking on Oro Mensah for the NXT Heritage Cup Championship, with Noam Dar dealing with an apparent injury. Dar's main man, Oro Mensah, stepped in to defend the cup on his behalf. Frazier wins the first fall on a quick roll-up, and despite having all the momentum, a distraction by Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend allows Mensah to hit a rolling kick to the corner to even up the score at 1 apiece. Then we get in the waning seconds of round 4, Legend and Jackson once again tried to interfere, but Yulisa Leon and Valentina Feroz even the odds, which allowed Frazier to counter, hit a Phoenix Splash, and win the NXT Heritage Cup. So this did play better in the NXT, like you said, like it's not really a big arena or big card type match. Well, maybe if once the NXT universe gets used to it, maybe it will be. But for here, I thought it came off much better. I do like Leon and Faraz coming in there to kind of even it up. And I think this also gives Noam Dar stuff to complain about and do the character thing, like he didn't actually lose. It was Mensah who lost, and it gives Frazier a bump up because what would we consider this to be, like the equivalent of like the WCW TV title maybe?
Yeah.
Right?
That would be what I could probably compare it to.
Yeah. So what do your guts say on this one?
Yeah, it was a big win for Frazier for sure, and I do think this type of match plays a little bit better in the NXT arena. I think they're a little bit more rabid and don't need to be like kind of encouraged to kind of get hype, because they're just wild and zany, and they seem like they're always hype for.
They stay hype.
Yeah, they get hype and they stay hype, like old Mojo told them to. But yeah, I think this kind of match definitely plays better here. Like you said, I think it gives Noam some good things to complain about that he didn't actually ever lose. But the big win for Nathan for sure.
All right. So then we get a 2-on-1 handicap match with Dabba-Kato taking on the team of Axiom and SCRYPTS. We get Dabba-Kato starting off the match by throwing both of his opponents around the ring, but as the bout continued, he couldn't keep up with their speed. After several high-flying moves by both superstars, Axiom nailed a victorious golden ratio, which gave the newfound allies the win. This was a big, what are we doing? So this is the third time we've had to see Dabba-Kato in a match with these little guys, and he only came out once victorious out of the 3 matches. I think Axiom's golden ratio looked pretty sweet when he hit on Dabba-Kato, but I just don't understand what they're doing here.
Yeah, I definitely don't get it either. This would have been a real good opportunity to have Dabba-Kato come out and just absolutely destroy both of these guys and get a win,
and have SCRYPTS eat the pinfall.
Yeah, I was like, SCRYPTS isn't going to get hurt any more than he already is. He sucks. He's probably going to always suck. So there is that. So he definitely could have taken a pin. And obviously Axiom is somewhat expendable to Dabba-Kato because he squashed him a couple weeks ago. So definitely a very confusing booking. And I think that this is the match where the Los Lotharios, who are also
free agents,
kind of pop up throughout this match. So
yes, I'm happy to see these guys. So I think they're good workers.
Yeah.
A solid, tag team, much better than the tag team we're about to talk about.
Definitely a really good addition. I think that's a real smart move for them.
Yeah. All right, and then we move on to Malik Blade taking on Idris Inoue with the whole continuing on the tag team partners facing each other in friendly matchups. And we get the two superstars showing off their incredible athleticism with remarkable dives, but it was a cheeky reversal by Blade that allowed him to roll up Inoue to earn the victory. And this was all an attempt to strengthen their relationship as a tag team. I think these guys are fine. They don't, it's not somebody that makes me like want to tune in to watch them. But they're both athletic guys. They still need a lot of seasoning, I think. But, I thought it was fine. I couldn't tell you whether the right person went over or not, but it was what it was.
Yeah, Blade is one of those guys that's just, I feel like he's never going to be more than like Tozawa is, just like that comedy guy that just kind of exists on the roster. And, he'll pop up here and there on shows and stuff like that. But I just don't see much for him past this point. I would kind of like to see Inoue break out and kind of be on his own to see just kind of like what kind of a single superstar he could be. Because this tag team is, I think it works for NXT. I think they sell really well. For the bigger, better teams that they will face and have faced, but I just this tag team isn't going to go anywhere. So I would like to see if Inoue could maybe emerge on his own and kind of, but just to see what he could do.
All right. So we move on to Roxanne Perez taking on Tatum Paxley. The Prodigy has her sights set on Blair Davenport, but first she had to deal with her new ally, Tatum. Perez was noticeably angrier, more aggressive than usual, firing off a multitude of heavy shots, sending a message to Davenport in the process. Paxley gave a valiant effort and even locked in a Boston Crab submission at one point, but one taste of Pop Rocks was enough to give Perez the victory. I thought this was good. Paxley's in that that role where she's going to lose to people. I see her in like kind of where Katana Chance, what Kid Carter was, even go back as far as the days of the Iconics when they were first appearing, they were working on their character, getting better, and they were, losing a lot until they came to a point where, they stopped and they got better and they something clicked and they got their character. And Paxley's starting to get a character a little bit. I think she's decent in the ring. They put her in there with a lot of, people to hold her own with. And, I do really wish, though, that she had been kind of part of that coven I was hoping for happening, but didn't happen. And Tatum's there. But I think 6 months, a year from now, I think we see her, moving up the card a bit. And Roxanne getting that kind of that win, even though she's kind of in that going downward trajectory before she comes back up to the title picture. She needed to kind of give her some, credibility a little bit going up to face Davenport. Although she's a former women's champion, she doesn't need the credibility. But people have memories of Goldfish, so people need to not think that Roxanne has been a perennial loser for the last however so long. So I thought this was a fine match.
Yeah, she definitely needed a win, and Tatum's. We've talked about it in the past on previous episodes. She's the one that's going to stay down there, play her role until she gets her shot, and she'll probably succeed really well when she does get to that point, because she is good, but it's just kind of one of those situations where she's just gonna have to wait her turn and let a couple of people kind of quote unquote graduate, I guess is what we'll say, to the main roster. But she's definitely good at playing her role. She's obviously in there with a lot of people who they consider stars. So, but yeah, Roxanne definitely needed a big win to kind of set up a match with Blair going forward.
Yeah, she's in there to lose more often than not, almost like a gatekeeper for the new people, and also to give some of the other people to heat them up and give them a win. So, which is fine for right now for her. She's in there, she's getting more experience, she's on TV, so there you go. All right, so our main event for this episode was Baron Corbin taking on Ilja Dragunov for the number one contender for the NXT Championship. And we get Dragunov still reeling from his injuries suffered during the last man standing match against Dijak at Battleground. Corbin quickly used it to his advantage by tossing Dragunov all around the ringside area. Dragunov mounted a ferocious comeback and displayed his trademark toughness, but Braun Breaker appeared and distracted Dragunov long enough for Corbin to nail an end of days to win the match. So he's moving on to NXT week 2 of NXT Gold Rush, where he will challenge Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. I thought this was a good match. I'm excited to see a Braun Breaker Ilja Dragunov feud develop, because I think they're going to beat the living crap out of each other, even more so than Dragunov and Dijak did. But no, why is Corbin down here? He's down here to make some waves. He's down here to challenge Hayes. Possibly put Carmelo over a little more, give him more a victory over an established main roster guy who has had, some big wins on the main roster. Guy pinned Roman Reigns, for crying out loud. So, I like this match. Dragunov is a guy that I think is, he's biding his time still at NXT. He's main roster bound any day now, I think, at some point. So, what are your thoughts here on this match?
Yeah. I mean, Dragunov again, super great. Just great wrestler, great performer. He always has really good matches, I think. And like we said in the previous episode, Baron, if he's in there with the right guy, can have a really good match. I think he's a lot more talented of a performer than a lot of people give him credit for. But yeah, Breaker getting involved here definitely gives Dragunov some way to split off from here. And take the loss, because he did get distracted, so it does make sense. And Baron Corbin, like you said, is a main roster guy, and has been a main roster guy for a while. So him getting a match, or him getting the win, is not just like unbelievably like, oh my God, he's squashing talent. He's obviously putting them over by selling for them, and he'll do the same for Carmelo when they have the match. So yeah, good match.
All right, so is this the end of the show where we got the acceptance of the challenge, or does that happen on the next episode?
I think that happened kind of in the middle of this episode, okay, at some point. So yeah, Seth Rollins accepted the title match, and they'll face each other next week in Gold Rush #1.
All right, cool. And that brings us to our show on June 20th, Gold Rush Week 1. We have Wes Lee defending against Tyler Bate, the North American Championship. So Lee and Bates squared off in the spirit of competition, as both superstars have been allies to one another in recent months, but it began to turn when neither of them could trust the actions of Ali, who began conducting both quick and slow counts, who was the ref here. So then we get Bate came close on several occasions to winning the title, but Lee's championship medal was all too great, and a well-timed and well-placed cardiac kick ended the contest and allowed the champion to retain. Again, these guys don't put on a bad match. The cardiac kick, he usually hits it pretty good. I think Lara Valkyria could use some training from him on how to hit a kick, right? Even though it's a different kind of kick, and the timing is a little bit trickier.
Definitely
with
harder.
This. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking though, I'm like, when do you see a Tyler Bate heel turn happening at any time? Because that's where I'm kind of like, are they doing it? Are they not? I mean, because it would be kind of shocking, right? I mean,
yeah.
has he ever been a heel under WWE and in NXT UK or anything?
I don't think so, because he was a mustache mountain for forever, and Trent Seven actually ends up turning on him throughout the latter parts of NXT UK. So no, I think he's always been a face. He's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily ever say he's been a heel. He's kind of been more of like just a tweener, I guess is the best way to describe him. He's not necessarily like, oh, goody two shoes kind of guy, kind of like he acts like on NXT, but he wasn't necessarily like a dick or a real asshole either. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I want to say that.
Yeah,
he's
I know.
He's such a good face. But yeah, really good match with these two guys. As you would have probably predicted going in. Ali obviously is going to kind of play them against each other, it seems, going forward. And he's he did the slow counts, did the fast counts. But yeah, that was really more of the story of this one. But a great match around it for sure.
All right. So we get a number one contenders triple threat match for the NXT tag team titles. And it's Blade and Inoue taking on Hank and Tank and Briggs and Jensen. So we get Briggs and Jensen look poised to win the match thanks to their version of the heart attack, but then Inoue and Blade appeared out of nowhere to deliver stereo splashes and stun their opponent to win the match to earn the right to face Gallus. I actually kind of enjoyed this match. I thought, not saying the right team went over, but I wasn't surprised by that because, Briggs and Jensen have had their shot. Hank and Tank, are they there yet? No. I think Blade and Inoue having such a different style from Gallus could be a decent time, right? It's just something different for Gallus because they've had, most of their matches have been brawls for the most part, with the exception of maybe the Dyad. And Pretty Deadly, are more high flyers, but they also can brawl. But Inoue and Blade are just pretty much strictly like high flyers. So I didn't hate the result because I thought it was the right result. How's that?
Yeah, I got you. When they announced this match, I was kind of surprised that this was going to be like the number one contender triple threat to name who was going to take on Gallus next. But yeah, I mean, as far as a stylistic matchup, I think Inoue and Blade match up with Gallus pretty well. Like you said, they're a little bit high flyers, but they're real speedy, real fast paced kind of guys. And like I said earlier, they can sell really well. We may not love them for anything else they really do, but they do they do sell really well. They are kind of smaller guys, so Gallus can kind of chuck them around, and they can do that really well. So definitely interesting matchup that I probably wouldn't have seen as an option, but definitely was looking forward to seeing what they could do.
All right, and moving on to Cora Jade taking on Dana Brooke. We get Brooke toying with Jade, showing off her athleticism, but one kick from Jade while Brooke was tied up in the ropes changed the complexion of the match entirely. After NXT's medical team attempted to get Brooke to the back, she refused and hollowed back into the ring to finish what she started. However, the injury to her knee was too much to overcome as Jade locked in a half Boston Crab that forced the referee to stop the match. I think this does, more for Cora. I mean, Dana's one of those people like, if she loses down here at NXT more than she wins, I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to help her situation or her situation. I think it's just, she's just kind of there. She's that veteran presence, somebody that's like somewhat of a name as compared to most of the ladies down there. But Cora needs the win, and I thought it was the right thing. I mean, it gave, Dana getting injured and the medical personnel kind of, saves her a little bit here to be able to say that, she had gotten hurt in a match and maybe she shouldn't have continued on. But, it was good for Cora and for the story.
Yeah, it gives Cora a win and shows that she's kind of ruthless, and, Dana didn't tap out or give up or anything like that. So it saves her as a face to kind of show that she's kind of tough, and she's toughed it out. But the referee just ended up stopping it. But yeah, definitely shows that Cora's willing to do pretty much anything to get a win, and is kind of ruthless when she needs to be and can be.
All right. Our next match is Yulisa Leon and Valentina Feroz taking on Metaphors, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson. Both teams were evenly matched, but Leon's dive to the outside inadvertently left Feroz susceptible to a devastating big boot from Legend, handing the Metaphor the win. So, I mean, I'm happy that Yulisa Leon is back. I mean, I thought Feroz, they were kind of trying to do something with her and Elektra Lopez, and I'm kind of glad that it didn't really go anywhere to give Yulisa time to heal and put them back together. She only recently returned, so and the Metaphor is a new faction, so of course they're going to get the win here. But I see things happening, and also they came up to the main roster, right? And they lost to somebody recently, right? They jobbed out to
Isla and
Isla. Leading up to their match with Ronda and Ronda and Shayna, yeah.
Shayna, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I thought this was fine. I think Lash and Jakara definitely need to improve in the ring. Yeah. But, from the storyline and them getting this, kind of the faction getting put together, yeah, it was the right choice to win here.
Yeah, definitely the right choice just to get them a win. The match wasn't anything great, and it didn't get a ton of time. So, but yeah, there's definitely room for improvement on both sides. But yeah, with the new faction forming, they were definitely going to end up getting this win. So, not surprising.
All right. And then we move on to our main event with the prodigal son, our current World Heavyweight Champion and the first ever NXT champion, Seth Rollins, returning to the NXT brand to defend against Braun Breaker after being challenged. Rollins feels the fury of Breaker as the former NXT champion unleashed multiple suplexes and attacks on the champion's injured midsection. Breaker's attempt at a spear went haywire as he went shoulder first into the ring post, allowing Rollins enough time to recover. Rollins then followed it up by going for a broke and hitting Breaker with a frog splash to the announce table. The two superstars continued to battle, but after a pedigree, a spear, and multiple stomps, it was Rollins that walked out of NXT still your World Heavyweight Champion. I thought this was a great match. Braun loses nothing in the loss here. I don't think it hurts him at all. I mean, it showed how much Seth needed to do to take him down. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match, and I thought, Braun was pretty impressive in here and held his own. What'd you think?
Yeah, Braun definitely held his own. I thought this was really awesome. I think it's one of the better TV matches we've seen for sure. Seth is another one of those guys that hardly ever has a bad match. It's usually not his fault if he does. But yeah, just great stuff. Braun didn't look out of place at all. If he was, Seth did a really good job guiding him. But I think Braun held his end all the way. And this just proves that he's ready to kind of take that next step whenever that does happen. Obviously, with SummerSlam approaching, I think it's probably right after that when he'll end up actually finally going up.
Yep. And was this the one where we got the post-match attack, right, with Finn? Yeah,
Finn does come out and attacks Rollins afterwards because Seth had taped ribs coming into this match, and it was because Finn had attacked him on Raw the night before.
All right, then. All right, so we'll move on to week 2 of the Gold Rush from June 27th. It opens up with Tiffany Stratton defending the NXT Women's Championship against Thea Hale. Hale gave it her all, and despite showboating from Stratton, she was able to hit her signature offense and even lock in the Kimura lock. Unfortunately for her, Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey began arguing with the referee, and the distraction forced the referee to miss the champion tapping out. Stratton capitalized on the mistake and managed to roll up Hale and walk away as the champion. After the match, Gulak and Dempsey attempted to beat down Duke Hudson, who was ringside, but Andre Chase returned and cleared the ring, restoring himself as the leader of Chase U. I thought this was fun. I'm not loving the Drew and Charlie stuff, but Tiffany looked good. It's one of those things where it's going to give fuel to the crowd for the next few weeks, having her have tapped out with the referee back turned or distracted. Mm-hmm. So, and it gives Thea quite a rub here, I think. But Tiffany winning and then getting the return of Andre Chase, I thought was really fun, and is going to lead us to finally see a battle here over the competing styles of teaching, I guess, so to speak. So, what are your thoughts on this opening match?
Yeah, I thought it was a really solid match. It made both girls look good. Obviously, Thea gets the visual submission, so really she should be, if the ref wasn't distracted, she should be the women's champion. But Tiffany kind of emerging from that and still coming out with the victory, I think was a good move. But this was really just a vehicle to get Andre back. Obviously, I think Thea will get another shot just because of the way the match ended. But obviously, this was a way to get Andre back in the fold, coming back from the attack that he had from, I think Braun took him out. And then, obviously, coming back from whatever injury or whatever he had. But yeah, that really popped the crowd, and the Chase U section went absolutely bonkers. So, yep.
Yeah. All right. So then we get Blade and Nofe challenging Gallus for the NXT Tag Team Championship. It was a true clash of styles as the bruising Gallus looked to contain the high-flying athleticism of Blade and Nofe, but the champions found it difficult to ground the challengers. With Los Lotharios looking on, Stax appeared and delivered a devastating elbow to Inoue and tossed him back into the ring, allowing Gallus to pin him and remain NXT Tag Team Champions. A little surprising, with Stax coming out to help them with that whole, Tony D angle that they're doing back there with Gallus, but we're just talking about the matches tonight. Again, like you said earlier, Los Lotharios being down here, I think is going to be a great addition to their tag division. And you knew Blaine and Nofe had really no shot going in here, right? Because I think Gallus would never live it down if these are the guys that took the belts off of them.
Oh yeah,
but I thought it was a fine match.
This pod may have exploded and ended
yes.
if that might have been the case.
Yes.
The only thing that may have been worse is if Axiom and SCRYPTS won the tag title somehow. But
or Big Body Javi wins like the North American title.
Yeah. But yeah, solid match. Like you said, clash of styles. And I think it worked. Gallus kind of bruised him up and knocked him around, but. And Inoue and Blade sold really well, hit their offense well throughout the match as well. So, Stax seemingly helping Gallus win the titles. I think obviously it's to lead to hopefully him and Tony D, when Tony D gets out, can win that tag titles from Gallus. But yeah, definitely maybe a little bit of a confusing way to do it, but it makes sense in a way, I guess. But yeah, that's a solid match.
All right. Then we get the NXT Heritage Cup Championship with Nathan Frazier defending against Dragon Lee. The first round came and went as neither superstar picked up the fall, but Frazier struck first in the second round with an incredible reversal after a Hurricanrana from the top rope by Lee. Much like round one, round three came and went without a fall, much to the frustration of the champion. Dragon Lee tied it in the fourth round with a roll-up powerbomb combo to set up a dramatic fifth round. The superstars proceeded to trade shots until the waning seconds with dueling roll-ups. It was Frazier that pulled out the final move as he pinned Lee's shoulder to the mat just in time to beat the buzzer. So, to me, I'm thinking this is NXT's version of fetch, right? They're trying to get the Heritage Cup over here, and I think it's something that, like you said, it works better here, but I don't know if it's something I want to see all as often as maybe they've been putting it on, but because I'm not a huge fan of the style.
Yeah.
But but who knows? Maybe it'll grow on me over time. But I thought this was fine. I thought Frazier and Lee, couldn't really put on a bad match. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it's the format is the only thing that I have an issue with here.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I think it's one of those things that you either probably like it or you don't. I don't think it's something that. It could happen, I guess, but I don't see this as something that maybe a lot of people that don't like it initially are going to come around to. It's just kind of a thing that, I think a certain sect of fans like, and I don't think it's just for the other part of that audience for sure. Like I said, like you said, it could grow on you, but I think it's just a style that you either love or hate. It's just kind of one or end of the spectrum. But yeah, these two guys did a really good job, and like I said, it plays good to the smaller crowd for sure. But another loss by Dragon Lee. So, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, they are actually going to run this back coming up in current time. And I don't think Dragon Lee's going to somehow win the second one. So. It's tough to see him put on such good matches and just constantly lose as he's coming in.
All right. So we got Kiana James taking on Gigi Dolan. With Dolan's chaotic offense clashed with the precision strikes of James. It seemed like the savvy businesswoman was always one step ahead. With the referee distracted, James went to hit Dolan with her handbag, but Dolan countered it, hit a crucifix bomb, picked up the win. After the match, James hit Dolan with the bag and dumped multiple cans of paint on the fiery redhead. I kind of dig this feud. It's such a clash of characters here that I see this having legs for a bit. And, of course, beloved Gigi. goes over again. Kiana, I think, is good. I think she still needs more work in the ring. I think she's got the character stuff down, but the in-ring is not as advanced as I would like to at this point. But and then Gigi, I think she's tremendous. I think she can be sloppy at times, but when she's on, she's on. And I thought this was a really a good match for her.
Yeah, this one kind of surprised me. I think it ended up being a little bit better of a match than I thought it would be. Yeah, like you said, I think really both girls still have room to grow for sure. Kiana more than Gigi, but I definitely think both have room for improvement. But yeah, this is a solid match and an interesting feud that I think could be super good going forward. Because I mean, obviously, I know what happens in the weeks after this, but yeah, I think it could be interesting for sure.
All right, and on to our main event, which is Baron Corbin challenging Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. The brutality of Corbin was on full display as he looked to not only win the NXT title, but prove a point that current NXT superstars are more entitled than the ones back in his day. The NXT universe was firmly behind Carmelo Hayes, but that didn't stop Corbin from laying down a beatdown. Hayes mounted a comeback, hitting a picture-perfect fadeaway leg drop in the process, but Corbin was too powerful and managed to powerbomb the champion onto the announce table. Corbin ended up nailing a deep six, but Hayes somehow kicked out, sending NXT faithful into a frenzy. After an attempted chokeslam, Hayes countered into a spectacular DDT, which set Corbin up for nothing but net, which set the champion home with the title. Again, like this match, I thought Corbin, moved around. I did love he came out as the lone wolf, right, in this one.
Yeah, he came out with the old music. He did,
and I kind of popped for that. I have to admit, I hate Happy Corbin. I hate that character. The lone wolf, I didn't love it, but I thought it suited him. And I kind of dug that. I kind of like when guys go back to an old gimmick for at least a one-off sometimes, and that did pop me a little bit. And again, Carmelo, bumped around and sold and hitting the deep six, was Mello really got into it. So I thought this was fine. And I mean, Corbin uses brutality, but you knew he wasn't going to beat Mello. I don't see Mello being that guy that loses to a Corbin, at least I think. But stranger things have happened. I mean, come on, Dolph beat Braun, but the title. Sure. But I didn't see that happening here. But I thought it was a good main event for TV. What'd you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if they let Corbin win, just have a little short run and have Carmelo beat him back for it. But I'm glad they didn't do that. I think Carmelo deserves to have a pretty long reign, as I think he probably will. But yeah, this is I think Corbin's 3 for 3 in NXT so far. So just another really good match. I think he's been paired up, obviously, with really good guys and guys that he can have really good matches with. But he's definitely brought his in on all of them. I think this is probably one of his best matches he's probably ever had, and definitely in a really long time. But yeah, just really, really awesome main event for the second week in a row.
All right, so then we move on to on July 4th NXT episode, which opened up with Roxanne Perez taking on Blair Davenport. The tenacity and ferociousness of Davenport were evident as the British superstar tossed Perez around the ring, but Perez did manage to counter a superplex into a crossbody. Perez then continued to fight back, but her attempt to take out Davenport on the outside backfired as she was sent face first into the steel ring steps. That spelled the beginning of the end, as moments later, Davenport was able to hit Perez with a pair of crushing knee strikes that ended the match. I thought Roxanne looked pretty good here, but Blair kind of beat the crap out of her. Right? It was kind of definitive. It was no, she literally just hits her with those knee strikes and then she's down, man. Mm-hmm. I think it was one of those where Roxanne was the little engine that could, but just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And Blair needs this to keep establishing her as this badass who took out 3 women so far, at least. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think again Roxanne is in that kind of that downward trajectory just so she can be built back up at some point. But I thought it was a good showing for Davenport to make her come off as this real badass.
Yeah, I mean, she's already taken out all these girls in the vaunted NXT parking lot. She's taken out all these girls backstage as they've shown with her character kind of coming in. And yeah, the big win, real big win. And like you said, it wasn't a squash, but it was. I mean, it lasted 10 to 12 minutes, I'd say. I think it was dominant enough to where it was, made her look super good and super badass. So, I kind of wish. I mean, obviously, I love Tiffany as a champion, but I would like to see Blair face a bigger face than Roxanne. But I think Roxanne's probably the top face on the promotion so far. So maybe they go to a Blair versus Tiffany at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. I think she might have to go through Lyra first, at least.
Yeah, that's
to
true.
get there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we'll see. And of course, though, then you see, like, Nikita comes back, she's going to target Blair. So you have those, like, set up feuds waiting for Blair Davenport down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to be busy.
Yeah, and I don't think this is over between her and Roxanne. I think Roxanne will come back and give her another big battle.
Yeah. All right, so then still hovering around the NXT North American Championship, we get Tyler Bate taking on Mustafa Ali. The big strong boy used incredibly innovative offense to keep the experienced Ali off balance, but in the end, it was the sneakiness and veteran savvy of Ali that gave him the advantage. Both superstars were perched on the top rope. As Bate nearly fell, Ali caught him, but after a sly smile, he dropped Bate into a perfect position for a 450 splash that gave him the victory. I thought this was a really good match. Mustafa Ali, wins somewhat cleanly here over Tyler Bate, and Bate again puts on another solid, outing here, and the right guy went over here because we've seen Tyler Bate take on Wesley. I mean, this wasn't exactly a NXT North American Championship, but you knew that whoever won this match had a much better shot at getting a shot at Wesley coming up. Anything to add on this match?
Yeah, like you said, this is pretty much a quasi, probably number one contendership to face West next. So, and Ali and West would be a fresh matchup. So, definitely would look forward to seeing that one. So yeah. I mean, I thought both guys did really, really great job. Another really solid TV match put out by both of these guys. So, as we'll get into, this is a really, really good episode of TV. I think there's 2 or 3 really, really good matches throughout this episode. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and it was actually taped too. So
yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. So then we got the debut of Kehlani Jordan taking on Tam Paxley. Has she been on Level Up at all? Because I haven't watched Level Up for probably about a month or two.
I haven't watched the last month or so, but it's not a name that I super remember. Maybe the last month or so she's been on a couple of times, but I think this is a pretty quick call up to the main NXT.
Mm-hmm. With Dana Brooke in a quarter, Jordan struggled early as the bruising Paxley grounded her and tried to wear her down throughout the match. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, Jordan expertly countered a slam attempt into a devastating stunner that gave him her first win of her NXT career. I got to tell you, I kind of love that stunner. The way she did, because it was like kind of like a flip over, like she kind of did a twist into it. I thought she hit it really well for somebody making her debut. It was fairly crisp, right? I mean, I don't see it being as over as the Soul Snatcher, but this girl showed athleticism. I mean, obviously she doesn't have much of a character at the moment, but having Dana in her corner added to it, and Paxley, like we talked about earlier, she's a solid hand to have in there, and she looked pretty hot. She actually in this match, actually. But yeah, I thought it was a fine debut, and kind of excited to see where this girl goes as she develops. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, they put over that she's like a real accomplished gymnast, which Dana Brooke was also before she came in. So that's kind of their connection that they have. And yeah, Paxley plays her role well again. And I thought the stunner was really cool looking too. This is maybe a match I probably could have given Paxley a win, but obviously they're putting Kalani with Dana, so you kind of had to give it to her. But it was good to see her get her first win, and I think she looked good enough to obviously push her going forward.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there's some solid foundations here. I mean, you got Saul, you got Danny Palmer, you got this girl. I mean, there's a couple of classes like up and coming.
Mhm.
So I think NXT is going to be okay for a while, at least in the women, because I think they kind of got a little depleted, not much, but I think they got a little depleted with the draft. So, especially in their tag team division, of course, with there are no more NXT women's tag belts, since those got unified with the regular women's tag belts, which is fine. I'm not upset at that at all. And then
I'm totally crying over it. I don't know what you're. I'm just kidding.
I know you got a tear in your beer for it. So now we have the return of the Underground. Previously on Raw, of course, which gave us, the debuts of like Omos back in the day, who was the bouncer, I guess, of it.
Yep.
And Dabba-Kato, a few other people were featured on quite a bit. And, of course, it's called NXT Underground. And it's Damon Kemp taking on Eddie Thorpe. Thorpe ended up training with former Olympic gold medalist and current WWE superstar Gable Steveson. I don't know if I'd call him a current WWE superstar, but, he's there.
He's working on it.
He's under contract. And it proved dividends as Thorpe crunched and battered his rival. Kemp, a former collegiate wrestler in his own right, was more than in his element, and with used his surroundings to get Thorpe off his game. The two superstars continued to bash one another, but Thorpe managed to lock in a triangle submission elbow strike combo that forced the official to stop the match and name Thorpe the victor. Of course, post-match, you have him celebrating with Gable Steveson and a few of the, trainees from the PC came in, and Gable Steveson proceeded to put on a suplex clinic, so to speak, and tossing guys around and showing off some shades of greatness here. I think they're moving him slowly along because they don't want to have him kind of like come on and fizzle out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because how long, they made such a big deal about signing Mark Henry years ago. And how long did it really take Mark to really come into his own? I mean, yeah, he did some stuff in the early years with the Nation and the stuff with D'Lo and that god-awful, stuff with Mae Young, the sexual chocolate years. But it did take him a little while to really find his footing and become the Mark Henry we know and love. So I think they're trying to avoid that with Gable Steveson and wait till he's like pretty ready to come on TV regularly. I mean, here, this was just like a showcase. Like he was just, he was there to kind of like, help out, give a little bit of a rub to Eddie Thorpe, so to speak, and then showcase his suplexing ability. But, overall, I was like, kind of like, as long as they don't bring the Underground back, if it's one of those things that maybe we'll see once a year, or once in a blue moon, like maybe like a feud, like a blood match type situation where nothing, these two people can't settle their, their their feud any other way. But let's go underground with it. I'm okay with that, but we can't make it a regular thing.
Yeah, it was different enough to kind of give it this match a little extra flair. So it was enjoyable for that. I thought the finish was sick. Like he had them in the triangle choke and was just nailing the elbows. I thought that was a really good way to end it. And then with Gable, you kind of compared him to Mark Henry. That's a good connection there that I didn't really think of. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to talk about like, Mark coming in and where he reached his peak, it took him about 12 years. I mean, he didn't reach his peak till about 2011. When he had the World Heavyweight title run and the Hall of Pain and all that kind of stuff. So you could say he probably hit a stride in probably 08, 09 when he was with the ECW stuff. But I mean, his real big run was that 2011 run. So, I mean, he came in like 99, 98. So, well, really 96. But so it took him a long time for sure. But and I kind of want to think that I saw the other day that Gable might still be trying to like train to do the Olympics another time. So I don't know if his heart is like completely in it right now, but they're kind of okay with him doing that. It gives him more exposure and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue to feature him in that maybe that rumor is BS, but he definitely has the athletic ability, and I think he has some of the tools, but he just needs to put it all together.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah. I grew to love Mark Henry. So
Yeah.
I mean, and they signed him to like these ginormous deal off the bat too. It was like a 10-year, I think, contract guaranteed. So they had to do something with the guy, right? And it all worked out in the end. So
Yeah, well, and Henry's issue was he always got hurt. Like they would push him super hard, get hurt. Push him super hard, get hurt. So I mean, his was a lot of injuries as well. But yeah, he came around and it all worked out in the end.
yeah, well, they're great athletes, but they may not be used to the the wrestling, sports
The
entertainment
rigors of it,
style.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so there you go. So then we got JC Jane taking on Lyra Valkyria. Jane was out to prove a point and mocked her opponent at every turn, jeering the crowd as she locked Valkyria into several holds and even smashing her face first into the ring apron via a wheelbarrow facebuster. Valkyria rallied even after being locked into a double leg Boston Crab, but missed a diving dropkick. Moments later, Jane went for a big pump kick, but Valkyria countered into an enziguri that rocked Jane. Valkyria then set her off for a picture-perfect spinning kick that connected flush and put Jane down for good. Yeah, these write-ups, I'll tell you. I mean, I thought this fine post-match, JC kind of beats her down and rips her feathers up. So that's going to lead to a feud between the two, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Lyra looked fine. I mean, JC, again, is one of those, again, like when it comes to heels, losses sometimes don't really matter as much. You know what I mean? Like she can take the loss because, she's going to, she may lose the battle, but is she losing the war? Not necessarily with that beatdown. So I'm okay with that. And Lyra, is somebody that kind of got pushed immediately into the title scene. So I think that she's kind of down a peg a little bit now. But I mean, should they have like a North American Women's Championship in here? I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To give other girls a chance to fight for titles, so to speak. I'd be okay if they unveiled that. I also think maybe the main roster could use something like that too, as well. Because there's such a, sometimes the people at the top. I mean, you have all these other people. Like, do you really see them beating a Rhea or a Charlotte? Do you really see Thea really beating, Tiffany? But could you see Thea and Cora like battling for the NXT Women's, North American Championship? Yes, I could definitely believe that and have her like have one of those fluke victories where she kind of like holds it for a little while. Yes, I'd be okay with that. And that's where I think I see like these girls right now, Lyra, JC, and Gigi and Kiana and Fallon even in there. So, but I'm fine with this match result here. What are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I think Lyra needed to get a victory, kind of coming off the big loss to Tiffany at Battleground, to get a little bit more momentum back behind her. And I think, JC doesn't lose anything by losing here because she kind of gets the post-match attack and destroys Lyra's little cape feather thing that she has going on. So this is obviously going forward, and she can get her win back at some point. But yeah, I don't know if I would do like a mid-card women's title on NXT, but I definitely think it could be something for the main roster because there's a lot of girls on the main roster that just like, even with Dana, I'm not saying Dana should win any kind of title, but she's just somebody that kind of just floats there. I mean, but even like, when Becky's not in like the title feud, like, she's just facing these people like there's nothing to it really. She's just kind of biding her time before she's back facing for the big belt, so she could carry that mid card women's belt while she's kind of building herself back up or something to that effect. But I definitely think it could work on the main roster, but I'm not quite sure I would do it on NXT.
Yeah, I hear you. I just want to give like people a chance to fight for something.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, that's kind of like what it is. Because we kind of have like a third men's title now with the Heritage Cup.
Yeah,
it's like, do we need it? When we could have like, we have this like glut of women Give them something else to fight for. Give them something else to build up to, kind of thing.
Yeah, it could make sense for sure. I'm not saying I'm completely opposed to it, but
No.
I would definitely do it on the main roster before I did it.
I agree. Okay, so our main event is a loser leaves NXT match. The Dia taking on the Creeds. The Creeds use their incredible strength and determination to pick up an early advantage, but the Lotharios, Fowler, and Reed showed that they still had a few tricks up their sleeve. The Creeds were deep in trouble after the Dia nailed Brutus with a diving doomsday device to the outside, but Julius used his remarkable athleticism to take out both Reed and Fowler single-handedly. Suddenly, with the official dealing with the brawling Ava and Ivy Nile, a masked superstar appeared and nailed Julius with a schism mask, allowing the Dyad to hit a simultaneous double knee facebuster, which not only won them the match, but also forced the Creed brothers to leave NXT. I was a little surprised by this, because once I heard it was a loser leaves NXT, I'm like, oh, they granted, the Dyad their release. Nope. The Creeds are the ones that are leaving NXT. Were you surprised by the result?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Once I heard the step, I definitely thought this was the Dyad kind of going away. Maybe they just ride out their contracts the rest of the way. They, maybe they said, hey, we'll go home. You can either release us or pay us or whatever. But yeah, the Creeds end up losing a really, really good match. Both teams, these two teams definitely have a ton of chemistry with each other. Real good match. Like I said, the underground match was really good. Bate and Ali was really good, and this one was really good. So a really, really solid in-ring match, or in-ring show for matches throughout this whole episode. So just really good stuff. Sad to see the Creeds go, but they did definitely deserve to be on the main roster doing stuff with teams up there that can have even more bangers with them. So
yeah.
Sad to see the Creeds leave, but happy to see them go at the same time.
I was kind of hoping to see them show up during the Maxine Dupree ceremony on Monday and have them join the team,
the Alpha Academy.
Alpha Academy. I would love that. That would really round out that stable, because you got Chad and Otis they work as a tag team, but they're they don't need to be a tag team. The Creeds would definitely benefit from the rub of being with those guys, and I think would establish them a little bit more. Who do you have any thoughts or guesses on who was under the mask? Was it Joe Gacy, or could it be somebody else?
I think it looked like Gacy. I kind of assumed that's who it was, but it could be interesting to see if it was somebody else. I don't know if it's going to end up being someone else, but I definitely think it was Gacy under the mask. You could see the beard. He was kind of a shorter, kind of rotunder kind of guy, so he definitely fit. You know what I mean? I know. More rotund, I guess. But he definitely fit. Gacy's profile. So, but it may end up being somebody else, but we'll see.
Okay, so our marathon is almost gone. We're coming down the final stretch here onto the most recent NXT show of our recording. This is the NXT from July 11th, 2023. It opens up with a tag match: Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey taking on Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. All four superstars battled on the outside before the bell even rang, and the action never slowed down once. Hudson began favoring his wrist, and Ruthless Dempsey took advantage by twerking it by any chance he could. But when Andre Chase tagged in, sparked the beginning of the end. Chase brought the fight to both Gulak and Dempsey, and an enthusiastic Thea Hale managed to lock in a Kimura lock on Gulak, allowing Chase and Hudson to defeat Dempsey and pick up the win. I thought this was a good match. Again, I'm kind of glad that this feud may be winding down. I think Drew is fine. Charlie is missing something, and I don't know what maybe exactly is. And I was happy to see Andre and Duke together. Maybe they can get they can challenge for the tag belts before it's all said and done. I think we're all waiting for Duke to turn, but I don't know if and when that could happen. Any thoughts on that in this match?
Yeah, it seems like if that was going to be a thing, it probably would have happened already. And I think Dempsey isn't missing anything. I think he's just stuck with Gulak, and I just don't think Gulak is helping him very much at all. I mean, he could use. I guess Dempsey could use a manager to talk for him, like you said. And I mean, his dad is fucking backstage, and if you can use him on screen, or if you can convince him to be on screen, I think.
Well, I think he can't be on screen.
Yeah,
right? Because of part of the buyout for AEW.
Yeah. I got to think that that's coming up pretty soon, though. For like, if it's a 90-day non-compete or whatever, I feel like this has to be close to either being up or have expired at this point. I mean, I don't know what they worked out, but
I think it was a year actually. He couldn't be on screen for a year. He could go work for them, but he couldn't be an on-screen character for a year.
Okay, well.
I think that's that, and I think that's like December.
Yeah, it's not for a while for sure. Yeah, I think you're definitely right. But anyways, I think Gulak is holding Dempsey back with the real thing I was trying to say there. But I mean, I think the match was really good. Andre Chase is another one of those guys. He just has a fire and he has a connection with the crowd. And Duke even at the same time has grown to have that kind of relationship with the crowd as well. But they're just always into these Chase University matches. They're behind Thea as well, but it just seems like every time the crowd gets super excited for these matches, whether they're all-time bangers or anything like that or not. But I think this was a really solid tag match between the guys.
Yeah. Like I said, though, it plays great in the NXT arena. Mm-hmm. Will it play great in the big arena? That's my concern if Chase U does come up as a unit. You know, they're a lot of fun, but, you know, on the big stage, I worry about Adam Rose, No Way Jose type stuff happening to them. But I don't want to see that because these guys are all talented, and I think they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think they've gotten a good reaction at the PLEs that they've wrestled at too. Yeah. So maybe they could get over, but it'll be interesting to see.
For sure. All right, so then we got Keilani Jordan, wrestling against Cora Jade. Jordan showed out early on her using her supreme athleticism, but the cunning Jade had her perfected and scouted and kicked out of the ropes right away when Jordan was attempting to springboard off them. Jade then followed up by hitting a crushing DDT and pinning Jordan in the middle of the ring. So, you know, she gets her first win last week, and now she gets her first loss. And Cora continues on her winning ways. I think this was more about Cora just continuing on that mean girl persona. I mean, Jordan, you know, lightning wasn't going to strike twice for her. So any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this was just to kind of push forward the Dana Brooke, Cora Jade thing that they've had going for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously leading to some kind of, I would assume it's going to be some kind of no DQ match with all the weapon use and, you know, with the kendo stick and everything. So, yeah, definitely just to move that forward. Keilani, you know, gets a loss here. It doesn't hurt her. She's brand new, so she's clearly just, you know, establishing herself, but taking a loss to a. You know, the funny thing is, you know, Cora is one of the veterans on this roster, and she's only like 22 years old in real life, so it's crazy to think that she's a veteran on this roster. But yeah, she's one of the more experienced girls, so. Losing to her is not something bad for Keilani at this point.
All right. So now we got Braun Breaker taking on Ilja Dragunov in a number 1 contenders match for the NXT Championship. Breaker looked to end it with a huge power slam after a bulldog from off the top rope, but Dragunov countered with a running Death Valley driver into an incredible coast-to-coast dropkick that brought the NXT universe to its feet. Somehow Breaker kicked out of the Torpedo Moscow and later caught Dragunov with a hellacious spear out of midair. The two superstars continued to batter each other, but it was Dragunov that delivered a final blow as one last running elbow to the back of the head, allowing him to pin Breaker and punch his ticket to the NXT Great American Bash. I thought this was a fun, you know, hard-hitting Haas battle here, basically. Dragunov, like I said, like, doesn't matter if he gets hurt as long as he hurts you. And Braun, I thought, you know, did a good job at selling, you know, had some really good facial expressions here on disbelief. I really dug this match. I mean, I think Braun's time has kind of being in the NXT title picture is come to an end, I think. So, of course, Dragunov was the right choice here, and I look forward to him and Carmelo.
Oh yeah, him and Carmelo should be amazing. Do you think this is it for Braun? Do you think this will be his last appearance? Him losing this match?
It could be. I mean, they got to find a way to bring him up or bring him on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got coming out of this, with how brutal and devastating all the stuff it was throughout this match. I had a feeling that this may be the kind of way to say goodbye. And it was a great match to say goodbye to, if that is indeed how it goes. But Dragunov looked amazing, like you said. And as long as he hurts you, he doesn't matter how much he hurts himself. But yeah, him and Carmelo should be absolutely outstanding.
Also, to start the show, we have an appearance by the entire Judgment Day faction to show up, and they get into it with Carmelo and Trick, and sets up our main event for later tonight. And also during the show, though, we have Wes Lee in a backstage interview, and Dirty Dom and Mommy interrupt, and Dom says, "You're the one with the open challenges, so I open challenge you." And Wes is like, "We could do it tonight," and Dom's like, "Nope, we're going to do it next week." So, I don't know. I kind of sniff a title change. What do you think of Dirty Dom? I mean, we'll talk about it on our next episode, obviously, but what do you think about Dirty Dom taking on Wes Lee and possibly, winning the NXT North American Championship?
Yeah, I could see it for sure, just from a character perspective, but I don't know if they're gonna do the thing where like Dom comes back down while all the rest of Judgment Day is still. I mean, I think he would still appear on the main roster, but I don't know if they would quite do that from an NXT perspective. But it could be definitely an interesting way to go. I think Wes will end up pulling it out, because I think they're going towards Ali and Wes at probably Great American Bash, which will be our next PLE at the end of July. So I think Wes will still retain. I could see it happening. It definitely could happen. I think it could be good for Dom. I think it could be good for him to win an NXT singles title before he starts, winning Intercontinental or US titles up on the main roster. But definitely could go either way. But,
yeah, definitely agree with that. All right, so then we move on to Ivy Nile taking on our NXT Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, still reeling from the loss of the Creed brothers in NXT. Now put up an admirable effort, as she had the champion questioning herself throughout the matchup, but it was still Stratton's night. The crowd was chanting, "You tapped out," to her several times. Stratton's first attempt at a rolling fireman's carry went awry, as now countered into a dragon sleeper, but Stratton then tossed her headfirst into the turnbuckle, which then put her in a position for the match-ending prettiest moonsault ever. I thought Tiffany looked great in this match. Ivy held her own. You can definitely tell, the whole Creed thing is weighing on her.
Yeah.
We also have a backstage segment, which I want to talk about in a moment after you give your thoughts on the match. But I thought this was fine. I thought Ivy, it wasn't a title match, because Ivy is nowhere near, ready for a title, women's title match. But I thought it was good. I thought it was a good TV thing. Ivy looked, like I said, Ivy's improving every week. And, keeping our champion on TV is a good thing.
Yeah. Definitely a good match for Tiffany. And a good match for Ivy. I think it would show that she can hang with the champion. And yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier with Ivy. I'm interested to see how she exist is the word, I guess.
Fares around
without having the Creeds to kind of bounce off of. So I'm interested to see how she handles kind of being alone now. I think she can handle it. I've been high on her from the beginning. She was a 205 Live NXT Level Up, whatever you want to call it, favorite of mine from a long time ago. So I definitely want to see where she goes, kind of without that safety net of the Creeds.
Mm-hmm. So later on in the show, they do a backstage segment with her kind of like sitting there, like, kind of like reeling from losing the match. And the Schism walks up there, and they have a whole bunch of people, followers in masks behind them. And their last two look very similar, and of course they had masks on, but to the Creeds. So, go back and watch it if you didn't pick up on that.
I missed that.
Yeah, so I would, I would like to hear your thoughts. Obviously, off mic, but I think their trip to the main roster, is not as imminent as possible. Obviously, they lost that loser leaves NXT, but it's wrestling, anything can happen. But those last two do look a lot like Julius and Brutus. So
Gotcha.
there could be more to come in this whole schism Creeds Diamond Mine thing. It might not be over yet. So keep your eyes out on that. All right, then we got Logan's favorite guy, Joe Coffey, taking on Channing Stacks Lorenzo with the fate of Tony D. Hanging in the balance that if Stacks could win, Tony D gets freed from custody. Coffey was shocked when Stacks reneged on their apparent deal, and even more shocked when a jail cell phone call from D'Angelo himself that revealed that Stacks double-crossed Gallus. Stacks even got Gallus ejected from ringside before hitting Coffey with a running knee stomp to win the match. I mean, I thought it was fine. I mean, I think Stacks is one of those guys that has grown quite a bit, and this is obviously going to lead to a tag title match at some point between the family and Gallus, and I'm okay with this match. It was fine for what it was. It moved the story forward, and it's going to lead to something.
Yeah, this was definitely more about the story. I think the other match they had was probably a little better in ring, but this is more about pushing the story forward of Tony D getting out, and then him and Stacks obviously getting a tag title match at some point in the near future. But yeah, like you said, Stacks has really, really improved. He's one of those. When they first came out and their names were Stack and Two Dimes, everybody was like, "Oh, that's the stupidest. Those are the stupidest names ever, and these guys are never going to get over." But despite Two Dimes' disappearance, quote unquote, Stacks I think has really emerged and become a really good talent for NXT.
There you go. So we move on to our main event, which is Finn Balor and Damian Priest of the Judgment Day taking on Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Finn Balor and Senior Money in the Bank. Sorry, it's late.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, it's all. We're hitting almost 2.5 hours here. I'm getting even more punchy than I am in the beginning of the show. So we got Finn and Damian taking the fight right to Trick, and then once Carmelo tags in, though, it becomes a different story as the NXT champion, earning some momentum and fired up the crowd. Hayes and Balor battled to a near stalemate, showing that resolve that makes both of them iconic NXT champions. But on the outside, interference from Dirty Dom, Rhea Ripley, and inadvertently the new number one contender, Ilja Dragunov. Chaos allowed Priest to hit South of Heaven, followed by a coup de grace from Finn, which allowed the Judgment Day to reign supreme in NXT. Carmelo taking the pin here, I didn't like. I think Trick should have eaten the pin here, but it just keeps putting over Judgment Day as a force, no matter what the brand is. So, I don't think it hurts Carmelo. He loses to Finn, who's won every championship imaginable, the current Money in the Bank holder. Plus you have, the women's champion and Dirty Dom on the outside. So, and then Dragunov coming in. Yeah, I think it's, I think with all that added into it, I think our champion is comes out of it with not too much, luster taking off his shine. Yeah. I thought it was a fine match. And again, I love seeing these main roster guys come down because I don't think it takes away from. I think it helps more than it hinders, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's not like they're taking TV time away from other people. I think there are people there that they're trying to showcase and feature up to a point. Mm-hmm. Obviously there are some other people I'd like to see on TV a little more, but with only 2 hours of TV time a week, they got to make the best of it. And I think having these main roster guys is bringing eyes on it. I don't know how the ratings are doing now with the more of these established guys and girls coming down, but it has to be giving it a bump, I think.
Yeah. I do think they have upticked lately. I don't think they've made so vast improvements or anything like that to where it's like, oh my goodness, this has been a great move. But I think it's definitely good for the talent themselves. Yeah, Judgment Day's just been killing it lately. Priest, Dom, Balor, Rhea, just all of them have been doing really good stuff. I'm okay with Carmelo taking the fall only because Ilja came out, and I feel like he gave enough of a distraction to where that kind of adds a little bit of fuel to this title match that they'll have at Great American Bash. So, because it's kind of, you're kind of heading towards another face thing. They'll probably do the whole respect thing, but this adds a little bit of tension, at least a little bit here. I obviously I would have rather Trick lost. He's the guy that's, it's not going to hurt him losing to main roster talents, losing to the first Universal Champion and the current Mr. Money in the Bank and Damian Priest. So, yeah, I think Carmelo getting pinned is questionable, but it does kind of add a little bit of tension to him and Ilja. So I'll be okay with it for now, I guess.
Okay. All right. So that's going to get us all up to date as of today's date of when we're recording, the day after the last NXT show. So it's July 12th. How many matches outside of the NXT title match do we know about for a Great American Bash?
I'll look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure that's the only one we know for sure right now. I'm assuming Mustafa Ali and
Wes
will have a North American title match. They may even throw Bate in there again. But as of now, I'm pretty sure we only know the NXT title match. So,
and who do you think Tiffany will defend against? Do you?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, I think they have to have another match between her and Thea. I think Thea losing by kind of nefarious means in that one. I think she'll get another shot. I don't know if they'll do that at Bash though. But okay, so it looks like Wes and Ali are official. Carmelo and Ilja, and then Gallus is going to take on the D'Angelo family. So you have 3 matches so far.
Yeah, we'll probably have I don't know, probably maybe like some kind of tag team turmoil maybe or something. We could have like a number one contender match or something, or maybe that would I don't know if that would be on the Bash, but it's interesting because we still got a couple of weeks, right, till the Bash happens.
Yeah, so it's on July 30th, so we've got at least 2, maybe 3 more episodes of NXT between now and then. So
all right, so lots to come. Obviously, it's been a bit of a marathon tonight, so we're going to forego our stock up, stock down, and anything like that. But we'll be hopefully back on a regular schedule after this. But Logan, in the meantime, are there any recent pods or appearances that you want to point our fine listeners to?
I'll just point out a couple. Highway to the Impact Zone's the one I host here on the wrestling feed. We just did the Slammiversary 2006 episode. We actually recorded 2 episodes last week to kind of catch up and kind of pre-plan for some vacations we all have coming up. So kind of getting ahead of the game. And then I have a new one on the North-South Connection called Linking Up Luchas, where we're going through the history of Lucha Underground episode by episode. So definitely looking forward to getting into more of that. But I have a ton of pods. I'm on pretty much every show on the wrestling feed, so you'll hear me somewhere, but those are the 2 I'll promote tonight.
Yeah, wow, you guys just don't stop. Holy shit. It's good to be young, I guess. Wow. For me, yeah, this is my my only regular appearance here on this wrestling network. I mean, I have a couple other shows that may come back one day. Who knows? They're fun shows, but they're a bit of work. Evolution, I only did a handful of episodes, but that was a lot of work. It was a labor of love, and maybe one day, or somebody may take up the mantle, because I think it's something that has a place on the feed. It's just maybe I'm not the guy to do it. But talk about the other feed here, though, the Pop Experience. That's my main home. You can hear me usually 1 or 2 days a week on the Pop Video Jukebox Song of the Day. That's a quick little pod blast to start your weekday. where myself, Steve Riddle, Keith Langston, and anybody else who wants to join in the fun does a quick little live watch of a music video. Every other week we have a theme, and it's been a lot of fun to do. And Steve and Keith have been doing a tremendous job on the ones that they do. Also, let's see, we have a new episode of Traders coming in the next few weeks. We're going to be discussing a Harley Quinn arc or collection of comics. Actually, that none of the guys have actually ever read. It was my turn to pick. So I was like, well, Harley Quinn's a character like, I kind of like these days. I mean, I love the Margot Robbie portrayal in the Suicide Squad movies, and I love, the cartoon on Max. So I like to read some comics on her, and it's pretty fun. Cartoons of Our Youth. I'll have another one coming out soon. I just have to find a guest. Pop Goes the Classics, the Disney series they do with Steve and Miranda. Our latest episode, Fantasia 2000, recently dropped. Our next episode should be coming within the next few weeks, which is Dinosaur. And then the Muppet Pod hopefully be back soon. The Laughing Theater, the Pixar rewatch, the Blockbuster rewatch will all be dropping new episodes soon. Also, though, a little note, unfortunately, our friends at Stream Lounge had called it a day, so to speak. They decided, things didn't get to where they had hoped, and the platform has kind of ceased. So thank you, Logan, for coming on there and doing some things, and thank you to all the people involved in Stream Lounge for allowing me and everybody else part of Place to Be Nation to come on there and do live watches, streams. It was a lot of fun. We had a really good time doing it, and it was great working with you guys, so really appreciate that. But, anything that I did at least as a stream will still be released as pods. I have a bit in the kitty to drop, so look for those coming soon. And don't forget, check out, and Logan mentioned the North-South Connection. Check out that great podcast feed. Great mix of wrestling, sports, and pop culture. Okay, so that's going to bring it into this episode of Who's Next. We look forward to talking about the results from the Great American Bash on our next episode. So, for Logan Crosland, I'm Andy Atherton. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.